We control finances, news media, food, transportation, energy. We control everything. It is important that you, as world leaders, keep our program before your country.
Will print what they want you to believe and not objective facts. Wake up, people. The scam that CFCs deplete the ozone layer.
Well, well, well. We are indeed back again. Who'd have thought it, right? This, I don't know, what day even is it? Thursday? Are we going to go with that? The 20th of October? Seemingly 2022. Are we going to go with that? Yeah, let's go with that. So, we are hopefully live from here in the rolling hills of Murrayshire, in the far northeast corner of bonny Scotland, where it reigns tyranny constantly. So, good evening, good afternoon, good night, good morning, whatever it may be, wherever you are in this absolutely insane world that we live in. Holy moly! Where do you even begin? Honestly, someone please help me here. Where do you begin? It is insane. So hopefully everybody's keeping their head high, right? Getting on with their life. In the UK at the moment, yeah, where do you start? What do people expect from a complete circus that is the Westminster political structure? I mean, it's a joke, right? A complete joke. So we might touch on that a wee bit. I'm unsure. We probably will not have time, to be honest. There's so much to get into. Hopefully the audio's all right. This was meant to get done on yesterday or the day before, but life got in the way. Typical. Anyway, here we are back again in the hood. Thank you very much to everyone who's joined tonight. Let me quickly say hello. What we're going to do tonight as well is we're going to cover a wee bit in regards to weather modification. That might take about an hour, possibly. And then I want to share a documentary which is over an hour long. So just a heads up on that one. I was only going to show a wee bit, but I just can't. You've got to see the whole lot. And this documentary got made in 2005. And it's it's called Aerosol Crimes, aka chemtrails. That old conspiracy theory. Yeah. What are you talking about? Weather control. They can't modify the weather. Yeah, of course. Of course they can't. I shouldn't laugh. There is people who today still think that anything in any way in terms of weather modification or controlling the weather is complete nonsense. It's a conspiracy theory. It's tinfoil hat stuff. You would be laughed at big time. What more do these people want? All they have to do is look up, take note. And anybody who has been looking up and taking note for, I don't know, the past, let's say, 10, 15, maybe 20 years, they're going to know. Anyone who's not, I guess you would never know if you never look up. I guess a lot of people, they're always looking down into the phone or the laptop, which I'm looking at right now. But of course, I'm not fooled. As a young lad, I always sort of, when I looked at the sky, clouds fascinated me from a very young age. They always have. The nighttime sky, the stars in the sky, fascinated by it. Spent a lot of time really interested in the solar system that they claim or talk about. So the stars, I had a lot of time for looking into the sky. And thinking back, I'm unsure, but I reckon maybe from about 2009, maybe 2010. I started to maybe notice the spraying. That's as far back as I can kind of remember. Maybe talking about chemtrails, or what people want to call chemtrails. So I'm thinking about maybe 2010. Then in about 2016, 2015, I became a moderator on a Facebook page. A kind of a Facebook page about truth. That would have been in 2015, I think. Possibly 2014. Excuse me. So I joined the, it's quite funny. I joined this page about truth, seemingly. But I kind of, the admins, the people who ran the page, they thought I was a bit too much. And this guy, right? We need to get rid of him. They never quite said it like that, but they weren't too happy with some of the posts that I had put up. Too conspiratorial, right? Nonsense. I think one of them was about NASA, actually. Maybe the moon landing. But I kind of thought, well, hey, I'll see myself out. I don't want to be amongst people who would censor me, or whatever you want to call it. So at that time, I think round about that time, I thought, well, what the hell? I don't need their page. I can make my own page. You can go your own way, right? So I thought, well, yeah, I'll just do what I'm doing, but continue it on my own Facebook page. So I made my own, which is still going, and it's called Fugspiracy, as in a thug, a terrible person. So it's called Fugspiracy, and I think it's got about 7,000, maybe 8,000 likes. I'm unsure, but I mean, it done really well for a long time. When I spent a lot of time, at least on it, not so much today, but I do try and still use it to at least get what I create out on Facebook. It's still a huge platform, albeit I absolutely detest it. I hate it. But there you go. So I made that in, I think it would have been 2018. You can go and check. It'll tell you when it got published. So I made that in 2018, and it's done really well. But then in 2019, that's when I made the jump to Facebook. YouTube. I'm confused already. Oh man, doesn't take much. But what I'm trying to get at is, since about 2016, I've kind of been discussing or looking into the spraying, the constant spraying, and the chemtrails, right? Just water crystals, right? Sure, let's go with that. Wait a sec till I sort my dog out. Little bugger. There you go. He was butting out, so he started moaning. Yeah, so I let him out. He's away now. But so, where did I get to? I'm unsure. Anyway, since about 2016, possibly before 15, maybe 14, I've kind of been discussing, kind of trying to make people aware of the continuous spraying above our head, right in front of our eyes, and still people can't see it. So it's not like at the start of the year I thought, right, I'll look into the spraying. Excuse me. It's been a kind of long time in the making. And in the past 3 years since I started on YouTube, I have touched on it quite a lot. We've covered it many times now, and it's quite unbelievable that we're in the position we're in today, where they're actually talking about geoengineering programs like it's not happening already. Who are they trying to kid, right? In my own view, it's been going on for quite a while, but now they're going to bring it out in the open and do it tenfold. Hooray! All thanks to entities like NASA. Yay. Where would we be without NASA, right? Answers on a postcard. In fact, don't waste your time. So let me quickly say hello, and then we will get into it. In my own view, there's no denying what's going on. It's as simple as that. There is no denying it. And anybody who does deny it, they're in denial and probably sitting wearing a mask, waiting to get their booster. Hooray! I actually seen a lot of people queuing up the other day at the Jabatoir. I think they are rolling out the flu juice. Fantastic, right? Free, of course, but only for certain people. I think some people do have to pay for it. I mean, wow. Anyway, we're not going to be getting into the juice tonight. But like I said, in my own view, there is no denying it, what's going on in regards to the sky above us, the spraying. But I think the real question is, or questions, is what is it and why are they doing it? To modify the weather, yeah, likely, but what else? We know about the germ war games that they carried out on the unsuspecting public. Here you go, sprayed them overnight with toxins that mimicked anthrax. Yay. Said nothing about it whatsoever. But then, of course, later on, they admitted that they did do it, the British government, the British military. So could that, and again, in my own view, it is, but could that be happening via this spraying program that they have? And if there is, what are they spraying? For what reason? So there could be the germ war game aspect to it, the weather control aspect, or weather manipulation, weather creation maybe. But I think there's also a bit more to it, unbelievably. I can't quite put my finger on it, but they seem to be almost transforming the atmosphere as we know it into a completely different state. And what the end game is there, I'm unsure, to be honest. Project Bluebeam, possibly, but there's so much to it. And when it comes to the hidden hand, they always kill more than one bird with. They always kill more than two birds with one stone, if you can get it right. Every time. They capitalize on said disasters in so many ways. It's quite unbelievable, to be honest. Probably why a lot of people dismiss it. Lies become so big, so great. People think, well, that can't be. Oh, there's no way they would have faked the moon landing. There's no way 9/11 was a inside job. It just couldn't be, right? Should I tell them or will you? Anyway, we'll quickly say hello and then we'll get into it because we could be a while. which is unfortunate for me because I've got college tomorrow. So let me grab a drink. Double whiskey. Of course, it's not. It's worse. It's coffee. I don't know what's worse. So let me say hello in the chat quickly. Who have we got? Rich is in the hood. Are we all good for the audio? I've not noticed. I think we I think we must be right. Hopefully we are. So hello to Rich, early in the hood tonight, chasing Carmel, of course, who I did see, and I think had to run because Rich came in about. I think she's away to work in New Zealand, of course. It's a different time, right? Which I know the feeling because I feel like I'm in a different time. Stuck in a different time, but we're all good for audio. Our good friend Wendy B in the hood has let us know. Good to see you back again, Wendy, and thank you for your continued support. A dog named Boo, of course. Good to see you back again. And On Fire Foley in the hood. Big Tony, Big Anthony Soprano is in the hood as well. Good to see you, brother. Johnny in the hood. Pray for the juiced. Some are regretting it. Yeah, you can say that again. If they've even got the chance to regret it. I mean, again, that's a situation now where surely people can see it. Surely everyone can see it for what it is now. I mean, look at the death rate. It is absolutely eye-watering, and still people don't get it. And again, living in denial, complete denial. They do not want to face up to the true reality of what's happening currently in this world that we're in. They simply will not buy it. And with a lot of them, you're wasting your time, to be honest, trying to get through. They'll only realize when the time is right for them. A lot of people, yeah, they are regretting it, and the pennies are dropping now. And yeah, you've got to pray. You've got to stand by these people. You can't. I have been told before, look, don't bother with them. But I kind of feel a bit different. I feel that we should maybe take them under our wing, support them, help them as much as we can. And excuse me, who better? What better example than someone who's actually been through it and regretting it to warn people? I mean, if they're not going to listen to them, they're certainly not going to listen to me or us, right? I guess. But the penny will drop for many, and it is right now. And it's quite interesting. It's coinciding. It's coinciding with the war. And I can see it. I kind of feel that it might get to a point where anyone who's against the government in any kind of way is going to be painted as pro-Russian. No matter what it is you say, there's going to be no black or white in it. If you don't toe the line with the government, you're a, I don't know, communist, a Putin lover. And again, we're all being played big time. I mean, look at the size of Russia. Look at the might of Russia. Look at the military. And what, it invaded Ukraine in 2014, and the war's still going on. Who are they trying to kid? Honestly, who are they trying to kid with that one? I think with Scotland's army, I could probably defeat Ukraine in a week, and that would be it, finished. We'd have Zelensky. It would have Zelensky in a night, probably. So I find it comical that people can't even see by that. How many years is that? 8 years or something like that? And the war's still going on, yeah? Wow. The war's one that we're going to get into certainly in the future. It all ties in, unfortunately, but it certainly does. But tonight, mainly, it's going to be that conspiracy theory. They can't control the weather. Yeah, let's go with that. Diane as well. Good to see you in the hood back again. Our good friend Diane. Jojo Gizmo in the hood. Good to see you back again. Steve as well in the hood. Little regard for should they say anti-vaxxers should be deported. Yeah, a lot of them people they're clearly insane, right? They really are. And but a lot of people, they have been bullied, blackmailed, and bribed. It all comes down to the individual, their own personal circumstance. But yeah, there are completely insane people out there. I mean, look at the video. I can't believe it. The video of, I think she was an actor, but she got, was it Bell's palsy on her face? But then she was saying that, yeah, you should still get the juice. Still get it. Still get it. I mean, how much did they have to pay her? Maybe they had her in their pocket, so she had to say it. But I mean, it's insane, right? Absolutely insane. There was a similar one where someone had passed away, and the husband or wife, they were saying that people should still get it. Still get it. I mean, even the data itself now should tell you, think twice at least. But of course, again, it comes down to being bribed, bullied, blackmailed after what? 2 years of home imprisonment. I see plain Steve. My throat's went. Our brother. You're not blocked, Steve. You're still in the hood, right? Good man. Good to see you back again. Our brother Steve. It's probably because I missed your comment. Because yeah, it's me. An absolute clown, but there you go, right? Someone's got to be. So good to see Steve as well. Two Steves in the hood. There you go. Yeah, exactly. Steve, right enough. Twilight as well. Twilight of Moor, one. There you go. Long time no see. Yeah, thanks very much. I certainly enjoy the college course that I'm on. It's fantastic. I've been learning so much. Honestly, I'm quite staggered at how much or how little I did know. But there you go, right? We all learn one day, but I'm really enjoying it. So thank you very much for that. Who else did I see? I think I missed quite a lot of people. Naylor Soon, where did he go? Naylor Soon. Where is it? There we go. Good to see you back again, Diane. Hasdak in the hood. Good to see our brother Hasdak. Mark in the hood back again. And if I did miss you, Ruth as well. Our sister Ruth from America. Good to see you back again, Ruth. A pleasure. And I know Justine is busy tonight with the grandchildren. So much love to Justine. She might see this in the future, right? Hello from the past. It's not great, but you'll know that anyway. So, good evening to everyone tonight. We could go until about, it could be about 2 hours, to be honest. Possibly longer. Right, and like I said, someone put a comment just today saying their husband doesn't believe that they can modify the weather. Complete nonsense, right? Of course. I mean, where would people get that idea? right? I mean, there's nothing going on in the sky. Sure. Now we've covered many different documents in the past. We know about quite a lot of the different weather modification programs that have taken place, be it, I don't know, Vietnam, for example, Agent Orange, Storm Fury is another one, Operation Popeye. There is more, but they fail me at the moment. So there is evidence there in black and white that especially the American military, they have been modifying the weather, and not recently, but for a long time. But of course, that would have been an isolated incident, right? They wouldn't do it on a huge scale. They don't have the technology to do it. That was one thing that used to get said. Or they've not got the technology to spray chemicals in the air and spray us like bugs. Don't be silly. It's nonsense. And that's one thing I kind of wish that Bill Cooper maybe thought a bit more about is the chemtrails, because he dismissed it straight up as complete cuckoo. He would he would say, "Look, don't be silly. They're not spraying the sky. They're not spraying chemicals in the sky." Yeah. Of course, that was in 1990. I wonder if Bill was about today, would he be saying the same thing? I doubt he would, to be honest. I think he would be seeing it now for what it is. There's no denying it, at least in my view. So, some people used to claim that they did not have the technology. It wasn't happening. Don't be silly. So, we're going to have a look at a few bits tonight. And then we're going to have a look at the documentary Aerosol Crimes, aka Chemtrails. Yeah. So, we'll jump out of the chat for a wee bit. Good evening to everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever you may be. We're going to get down to it for the time being, right? It could be a long one, so be prepared, right? And hey, it's a bit relaxed. Jump in, jump out, do what you've got to do. You can always catch up another time, right? Plus, I'll probably miss your comment anyway. So let me see if I can work the screen. I messed it up earlier on a kind of mock run that I done, just setting up, and I still messed it up. Man. So, again, thank you to everyone for jumping in. We're now going to basically do a bit of screen sharing. If I can work it, of course, that would always help. A great live stream earlier on by our brother, John Davidson. Great stuff, the gent. I'll be joining John at the end of the month for the movie review of Christine from 1983. Anybody seen it? Let me know if you've seen it and if you like it, if it's any good, right? And let me know if you've had constant spraying in your area, because we do have quite a lot of people. Well, maybe not quite a lot of people, but we do have a good mix of people from different parts of the world. So it's good to see what's going on. It would appear to be, when it comes to the spraying, it's right across the board, big time. I don't think anywhere escapes it. Right across NATO stan, especially. So let me know what it's like where you are, and when you noticed the spraying, and we can catch up in the comments again. What we're going to do now is I'll get rid of... How do I make... Oh, yeah, there we go. One of these days, I'm going to get it right. At the college, I'm studying horticultural and landscaping. It's uh, it's not HNC, it's level 6, but I'm hoping to do HNC next year. I was hoping to go straight into HNC, but I'm glad I never. Um, it might have been too much, to be honest. I think going in at the level I'm doing it, I'm going to learn a lot more and be prepared, and possibly end up with a degree, maybe in the next 2-3 years. It sounds quite a long time, but I don't know, right? We'll cross that bridge when it comes, but I really do enjoy it. I'm certainly learning a lot of stuff, so I'll give you an update on the college. Hopefully, let me think. Saturday, right? So I'm going to be live on Saturday. It might be in the afternoon, or it could be at night. So just to let you know, right, a wee bit of a heads up. So feel free to join. So enough on that. We'll get back to the college another time. Quite a lot to say on that, to be honest. Tonight, though, a continuation of the geoengineering, the chemtrails. And like I said, we will be discussing and showing the documentary Aerosol Crimes, right? Quite staggering. It's from 2015, and the guy had put it together via a combination of 5 years of research into the spraying. He started in 1999 documenting the chemtrails. 1999. They've not got the technology. Yeah, they've not got the tech to do it right. Or maybe they had the tech, but they destroyed it and now they can't make it again. So it's not happening today. Let's go with that. Does anybody know about the patent that we're away to discuss on aerosol combustion for the purpose of weather modification? Hooray! Spray the atmosphere. Don't worry about the consequences. Yeah. I think some people would have seen it, to be honest. I had only seen it last week. So maybe people haven't seen it, right? But then again, what do I know? I've practically seen nothing. Honest to God. I feel like I've got so much to learn, so much to see. I've never once claimed to know very much. Nothing, if anything, to be honest. But there you go. But I think some people might know of it. But we're away to show it now. If I can work the screen. So, we're heading over to Google Patents. Good old Google, right? Yeah. Where would we be without Google? Hooray! All hail Google. Combustible compositions for generating aerosols, particularly suitable for cloud modification and weather control and aerolization process. Right. I wonder what that could be. Scratch his head. Of course, well, weather control and weather modification, you can't really get confused with that. Let's face it. We we can all imagine what that is, right? But let's look at the date here. Where are we going? Down here. Worldwide applications 1973. Anyone born in that year? So this technology, 1973. And then again, until this particular item, its lifetime expired by the looks of it. It ran until 1988, this system. But if we go up here, let me see. Yeah, here to the description. This application is a continuation in part of our pending application, serial number 742956, filed on June 19th, 1968, now abandoned, which was a streamlined continuation of our application, serial number 444923, filed March 22, 1965. Wow. Now abandoned, and which was a continuation in part of our application serial number 392809, filed August 28th, 1964. Yeah. So we could basically be talking at least since the early 60s, which would sound about right. I think a lot of the experimenting, and of course we only get told a wee bit in regards to the experimenting that they do. I think it would have went on possibly during World War II and going into 1950s into the 60s, where it went full scale, the weather modification program, and I guess the race to control the weather. But like I said at the very beginning, it would appear that there's a lot more to it than just weather manipulation, unfortunately. So there's a few. The date is the main thing I want to point out here. But there is a few other bits quite interesting. Has anyone read this in the past? Anyone who's here? Let me see if I can make it bigger. Make it grow, right? So we're talking about at least 1960. They had patents for the technology for what they're saying is modifying the weather and controlling the weather, in their own words. In particular, to control and or to modify weather, such as to clear fogs, to modify clouds, or to prevent hail. Wow. What about create fogs and make hail? I wonder if they do that as well. Yeah. The invention relates also to the process for the aerolization of the reaction products of said compositions released by oxidizing said metals with said oxidizing agents. More precisely, the compositions of the present invention are able to give, after, quote, giant condensation nuclei. Ah, man. I don't know why that wouldn't come out, but it just wouldn't. And or, quote, giant freezing nuclei. I can never say that word for some reason. For the purpose stated above, which is, of course, weather modification, right? Honestly. That conspiracy theory again. I wish they would stop telling tales, right? Let me see. There's a lot of stuff here where it basically repeats itself, but there is a lot that, yeah, it gives the game away, basically. Let me see if I can find it. So yeah, what we talking about here? Metals, different chemicals. The use. Where is it? The use of suspended or dissolved, powdered or vaporized hygroscopic substances is also known to induce coalescence of the water drops into clouds or in fog. Hooray! We cite among these known substances as potential agents the activated sodium or potassium chlorides, that is, the sodium or potassium chlorides which show defective crystalline lattice caused by ionizing radiations. Where have we heard that before? Ionizing radiation. Yeah, interesting that, right? What else did I want to point out? This is worth checking out. There's a lot more of them, similar as well. I mean, how anybody could deny it is beyond me. It's everything's there in black and white. Everything that you need. Let me see. There's a few bits I want to cover. Of course, they've talked about the sulfur before. Sulfur dioxide. Aluminium. Aluminium is one that people used to say was being sprayed and they got laughed at. Here we are here with a patented technology that can make it happen. Yeah. We're going to expand on aluminium a wee bit. Because aluminium, I think, is definitely one they use and have been using for a long time. And what I wanted to point out from this in particular, they talk about powdered metal. From what I can see, what they do is they get the powder and they make it into some form of paste. And then it's dispersed. Although there could be a different form of it today. But if we can pin down exactly how it's done, we might be able to trace where high amounts of these powdered metals are being used and by who. Right, so that's potentially one we're going to get into in the future. If we look here, where is it? I'm never going to find it now, right? Let me see. Like I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to link this in the chat so people can check it out. I mean, a lot of it probably, like me, doesn't make sense. You've got to be a chemist or a scientist to understand it, but you'll get the idea. What I'll do is I'll pop it in the chat, and then we've got a few bits to get into. Can I work it? Surely, right? I see Carmel is in the hood, who should be working. Shocking. She's skiving, right? She's juking. She should be doing work, but who can blame her? Work all your life for what? For what thanks do you get? Yeah. But good to see Carmel back again. So that is the link to the patent. And don't say I never told you, right? And I've gave you the link now. If you have someone that you think might want to know about it, send them it and say, well, what do you think about that then? Right? It's happening. Honestly, look up. So we'll jump back, right? Let me show you this. Sticking with the patent in the nuclei. If you look here, I think it's aluminium. Let me see. The action of the aerosol consisted in generally generating relatively large hygroscopic particles, giant I can never say it. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. Which coagulated the fog when introduced above it. Optical quote, rainbow effects, close quote, indicating formation of large monodisperse droplets at the expense of the fog could be noticed under direct sunlight, illumination of the top of the cloud where aerosol was used. Now, for about the past, how long would it be? For about the past 5 years, maybe longer, but certainly in the past 5, I've been noticing these strange rainbows in the sky. One of them, they're usually quite small, but one of them in particular, I've never seen anything like it again. It was upside down in the sky right above me. And then the sun itself had a sun ring or a sundog. And at each point of, well, at north, east, south, and west of the sun, there was a rainbow on the sun ring. And there was one completely separate from it in the sky as well. And I always used to think, what is that? Well, it's probably that. It's a reaction in the sky caused by aerosols being sprayed in the sky. That's what it is in my view. You've probably seen it, noticed it more in the past as well. I've got videos of it. I put it in the intro. That was a prime example of it. A rainbow almost hidden in the clouds. Not your average rainbow that's like a dome or a double rainbow. Oh, no, no, no. Not like that. A completely unexplainable one. Well, here we might just have our explanation, right? So droplets at the expense of fog could be noticed under direct sunlight, illumination of the top of the cloud whenever the aerosol was used. Observation of valley cloud dissipation were confirmed by lapse photography. So they've got evidence of these rainbows being created in the sky when they sprayed the aerosol. Now, I'm possibly going out on a limb, but anytime you see one of these strange kind of abnormal rainbows in the sky, yeah, you might now have the answer as to what it is. Unfortunately, it's aerosols being sprayed. But don't worry, it's for your benefit. Hooray! Let's go with that, right? Sure. If we look up here, like I said, this came out in the 60s. At least the first patent version. In the worldwide patent, 1973. Yeah. But if we look here, Who have we got as the inventor? Who's the lucky guy? They're going to be a millionaire now. Billionaire, trillionaire, gazillionaire. So we've got a group of people, basically, right? Now, I'm unsure if any of these people are still about. Some of them could be. But you'll notice the current assignee. If we go here. Oh, for God's sake, what have I done? Does anyone know what that place is there? The National delle Ricerche. Oh man, I can't even pronounce English. Never mind a foreign language. Let's not go there. But we're certainly going here. Has anyone ever heard of it before? Does anyone know what language it is? Quite obvious, I think, what language, right? Of course, it's Italiano. It's Italian, right? Mafia style. We're on thin ice now. Oh no, what am I doing, man? I'm going to get the knock on the door from Tony Soprano's nephew. Christopher, is that his name? I should know, I do watch The Sopranos. Stuck in the 1990s still. I refuse to live in today's world, right? I'm not doing it. It's terrible. But does anyone actually know about these guys? They're quite new to me, to be honest. I only came across them through this. And I thought, who? What? And I think we're going to get into them a lot more. This Consiglio Nacional delle Ricerche, CNR, if you like. We'll just call it CNR, right? CERN? No, it's not CERN. Bill Gates, kind of, possibly, yeah. I mean, that guy's everywhere, so he's bound to be attached to it in some form. Given the entity that it is, this National delle Ricerche. If that's how you pronounce it, probably not. I doubt it very much, to be honest. I apologize to any Italians in the hood, right? Don't come and whack me for mispronouncing. But yeah, we could be. We might have the mafia listening, getting into these guys, right? I shouldn't laugh. I don't think I would be a worry to the mafia, to be honest. I reckon they've got bigger fish to fry. Right, we'll go with that. Surely, hopefully. So yeah, we're going to have a wee look at these dudes. So if we go here, first of all, right, and this was basically in about 2 minutes of research that I done to begin with on this entity, Ricerche entity. Does anyone know what this is or is about? Does anyone know what crossed fastigial influence is? Or even what fastigial is? I think fastigial people might know, or you might have heard in reference to a part of your body. And I'd imagine, hey, well, I know people here know a lot more than me, that is for sure. But fastigial is the brain, right? It's a part of the brain, as far as I'm aware. But that's as much as I can tell you from this document. But it's not really what I'm wanting to point out is the info contained. It's all about the working of the brain, from what I can see. the fibers in the brain, which is interesting. This goes back to 1956, right? And look at who was funding it. I mean, you wouldn't even have to guess, right? Would you? It was the Ricerci and who else but the Rockefeller Foundation. So even in the 1950s, this entity that's behind the chemtrail tech is heavily, in my view, involved with the Rockefeller Foundation. And there will be more to come on that, I can assure you. But we'll leave that for the time being. Any brain surgeons in the hood that can dissect this article, let's not try it, right? But again, there at the bottom, the grants supported by the Rockefeller Foundation. Shock horror, who'd have thought it? Yeah, who'd have thought it? So, what I want to show you now is we're going to stick with this entity, this Ricerci entity, or the CNR, if you like, right? This is their building here in Italy. What does it look like? I mean, come on, it pretty much looks like a temple, right? You've got the four pillars at the entrance, and it's like a cube shape. I wouldn't say it was similar to Solomon's temple, but it looks like a temple. That's kind of what I see. If I walked by that and I never knew what it was, I'd have probably thought it was a Masonic museum or a Masonic lodge. I see it's got two big palm trees. Is it a palm tree? Or maybe it's not, actually. You think I would know, right? Although, to be fair, there's not many palm trees in Scotland. Certainly not in Elgin. It's like Norway here. Maybe it is a palm tree. Someone in the chat will correct me, but I think it might be palm trees, right? But, I mean, you don't get more Masonic looking than that in regards to buildings. And buildings mean a lot to the occult, the hidden hand. The building itself contains knowledge, even in the workings of it, the blueprints of it. But to me, that says Masonic Lodge, right? Is it a date tree? Ah, I think you might be right. I think it could be a date tree. There's two of them, so they could be on a date, right? We'll go with that. So yeah, quite interesting building, the Ricerci, but it's also the home of what they call the National Research Council. Yay! Wow, we're so lucky, right? Another entity, another council that's going to what? Control the research? Yeah, we'll do all the research. You do nothing. Just believe everything that we tell you, and it'll be all good in the hood, right? Yay! All hail the National Research Council. The good guys, I'm sure. I bet they are. Established in 1923. Yikes. Anyone remember that? Frank might have been about. Frank, the information tank, is Frank checked in tonight? I've not done a roll call. We need to do the register. Frank might be about here or there. Always good to have Frank in the hood. If not, we'll catch him another time, surely. So it's the National Research Council, which is the home. Well, its home is at the Recherche Institute. But it kind of doesn't end there. When you go onto the website of these guys, Recherche or Recherche, I'm unsure. We'll go with whatever I call it, whatever comes out. When you go to the Research Council, I mean, you pretty much couldn't make it up, to be honest. Bio and agri-food. Yeah. Bio-food. Yummy. Physics and matter. Yeah, because it matters, right? Earth and environment. Biomedical sciences. Hooray! I bet you that's great. Earth, system science, and environmental technologies. Yeah. Wow, there's an interesting logo, right? Nothing occult about it whatsoever. Nothing Illuminati about it. Nothing Masonic about it whatsoever. Don't be silly, right? That would be conspiratorial, of course. If you look here as well, it talks about a base station. Oh, what's going on? There we go. It's me. I'm an idiot. The Italian Arctic Station. What? Italian Arctic Station? Are we going to try and pronounce that one? The Rigbilly? The Rigbilly? Is it that? The Rigbilly Italia? We'll go with that, right? Of course they've got a base in the Arctic. Of course they have. Right? The Research Science Council. The Research Council. The only Research Council by the looks of it. But they're more than that as well. They're the never-ending jack of all trades. But remember where we started with the patent of the chemical combustion for weather modification. These guys pretty much own it. Are they still involved in such a thing today? You bet they bloody are. Again, sticking with Recherche, the CNR. And to be honest, you could not make this up, right? You'd think they might have distanced themselves today from the chemtrails, the spraying, the geoengineering, but no. They are the Institute of Environmental Geology and Geoengineering. Shock horror. Of course they are. Because they made the technology for it. And by the looks of it, in the 1960s. I guess the question is why? They talk about geoengineering today because of climate change. Climate change! But they never talked about the disastrous climate change that is looming in the 1960s. But now, after decades of the spraying, they can claim that there is climate change. Because, yeah, there is, if you like, a form of climate change happening, but it's not what they're telling you. Oh, no, 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 no. Look up. It is happening now. And in my own view, it's got to be stopped. It must be stopped. And it'll probably get to a point where I'll make it my life's ambition to stop it, right? That's the sort of dedication people are going to need, because this is going to go ahead. Look at the money behind it. Look at the entities behind it. It will happen. But of course, it is happening. IGAG. IGAG. Yeah. I bet they have gagged a few people, right? You really could not make this stuff up, to be honest. You just couldn't. Here they are again in the European Directory of Marine Organisations. Yeah. National Research Council, Institute of Environmental Geology and Geoengineering. I thought that was a new idea. Well, by the looks of it, no. Of course it's not. And like we discussed in the last live stream that we done, the guy David Keefe, Professor David Keefe, the go-to, he's been playing with the thought of geoengineering since the 1980s. We are not worthy, right? So yeah, we'll leave the Recherchi for a sec. I can't say it. The CNR, or well, let's call them what they are. The Institute of Geoengineering, the makers of the technology, pretty much. And of course, the funding from the Rockefeller Foundation. Let's not forget that. And like I said, we will be back to these people or this entity, another one of these organizations that, well, hey, it's not good news, I'm afraid. What else do they also, like it said, they're involved in biomedical science. Biomedical scientists carry out a range of laboratory and scientific tests to support the diagnosis and treatment of disease. Shock horror. Yeah. They sound like they would be right up the Rockefeller street, these guys, right? Another entity clearly being used for a very long time by the powers that be, the hidden hand, the occult, the shadow government, if you like. Let's face it, the government that we get, they do not have any power. Come on. Are you kidding? Look at the circus in the UK. Do you think these people have got any power? Honestly. When are people going to wake up? Honest to God, when? When it's too late, probably. But we keep going, we keep trying. Tomorrow's a new day. Every sunrise, we get another chance to go again. And I'm never going to give up. No matter what it is I do, no matter what they throw at me, if they silence me, if they put me in prison. And I mean, it sounds stupid, but the way it's going in Scotland, you're not allowed to say anything. You're not allowed to have a feeling, an opinion. Don't be silly, right? They don't want people disagreeing with their view or their narrative. And in the past 3 years, that's all I've done, is completely disagree with the fabricated narratives that we get. It's complete nonsense. We live in a theatre. Big time. If you can't see that by now, I don't know what would make you see it. Possibly a fake alien invasion. That might drop a few more pennies, but I'm unsure. A lot of the sheeple, they're gonna buy that as well, right? Hard to imagine what that would be like if they did roll out the alien invasion. Quite comical, probably, but it could be again a complete disaster for everyone. What would they do? I guess they would bring out martial law. Ah, aliens! and release some sort of zombie that looks like an alien, maybe. I mean, I wouldn't rule that out. I mean, the zombie apocalypse is already here. They're all walking about with their heads stuck to the phone. Like I said, no wonder they can't see what's going on in the sky. People are attached to devices constantly. And if they're not working, they're maybe driving and not looking up whatsoever. The people who do, they see it for what it is. The people who see it but don't accept it, you live in denial. Big time. What more would you want, right? And when you do say that, sometimes people will say, look, well, what are we going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Well, that's the point we're at. What are we going to do about it? I think the best thing we can do is lead by example and do everything that we can to make people aware, at least those who are not aware. In any geoengineering program that your government might be considering implementing, you need to stop it. Again, the only power they have is the power you give them. Don't do it. Don't give them that power. Easier said than done, right? So biomedical scientists, yay. All about diagnosis of disease. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Of course that would be there. So that's the station in the Arctic. Established in 97. But as you can see there, the Italians had been exploring the Arctic for quite a while. An expedition in 1928 to the Arctic. Yeah, sneaky Italians, right? I think there might have been an accident with an airship there. I'm unsure. Look at that for a ship, right? Anyone fancy getting a lift in one of them? Think of is it the Hindenburg, right? No, the Zeppelin, is it? It was called the Zeppelin. Is that what it was called? The one that blew up? I can't even remember. Of course, there's not much that I can ever remember. A complete brain, a head of mush, right? Typical. I'll blame the lateness of the night. We're going to go with that. I thought I would show you that. The research station also runs a climate change tower. A what now? Yeah, a climate change tower. And it's 34 meters. Yeah, I bet it's 33 meters. And look at the square meter of it. 330 square meter. Yeah, of course it is. That means nothing, of course, right? It looks a bit like a church. That's what I thought when I seen it. I think it could be made of wood. We're not going to get into this too much, but I think we will get back to it. There's a lot to cover with the CNR. And I'm surprised we never came across them before, to be honest. But it just shows you can be looking everywhere, and we've missed a key point, a key component in the weather modification program. But now we've got it. The patent is there. The evidence is there. Add to that the evidence that they've admitted, i.e. Operation Popeye, Agent Orange, Storm Fury, more weather modification programs that you could add to that. We know all about them. The evidence is there. Again, the question is, why and is it happening today? Who thinks it's not happening today? I think most people are like me here. They know. They can see that it's happening. Look at the photo there. It looks like a wee shed. That's just a wee shed in the Arctic, right? Nothing to see here. Looks like it's not even finished construction. Quite funny that. I always think that any photos we get from there, it's not real. Satellite imagery is one that we're going to get into in the future. And when I was doing a bit of research on it, I remember reading that it was I can't remember what exactly it was, but it said that there is a lot of fake satellite imagery out there. And I thought, is there? Who's making all this fake satellite imagery? That's one we're going to get into in the future, right? So you might want to look out for that. Satellites and the sort of problems that they have with these said satellites. Pretty much a radio on a balloon, a radio duct taped to a balloon. Phew, there you go. In the patent, actually, in that patent, it talks about these chemicals also being released in other ways through rockets. And I could not help but think about the SpaceX rockets and what we see with them. It's like a big release of gas in the air. You'll know what I'm talking about. Once it bounces off the sky, which is weird, right? How does that happen? It doesn't go up to space. Ah, man. It doesn't go up to space. It just bounces about and then ends up in the sea, probably in Point Nemo. If you don't know about Point Nemo, like Finding Nemo, look it up. It is comical. It is the graveyard, seemingly the graveyard for satellites. But no one's allowed to go there. So don't plan on going there. You can't. Only NASA are allowed to go there, right? No one. Not anyone. Not even the president. Not even Boris Johnson. Nobody. No one has that clearance. Of course, the shadow government, they pull the string. Not the American government or the British government. I mean, come on, right? The Arctic's an interesting one. It really is. Google Maps is an interesting one in itself. A lot of it, personally, I feel it's fake. But we will even get into that a wee bit more. The Arctic and Google Maps, if you like. And of course, satellites, right? Hooray for satellites! Yeah. So, if you look at the patent as well, it talks about, we mentioned aluminium. We'll touch on that again in a sec. Sodium azide. Anyone know about sodium azide? Sodium chloride? Sodium nitrate? Yummy! Sulfur? Anyone up for a bit of sulfur? Ammonium nitrate? Iodine? Silver iodine? Yeah. All good stuff, right? Nothing to worry about whatsoever. Natural metals and chemicals. Let's go with that. But aluminium, personally, I feel is one that they have been using since the very beginning. And I think we are now seeing the effects of it today. And I'll give you an example as to why I think that. If we go here back to Goggle, in regards to aluminium, or if you're American, aluminum, right? But it's the same thing. We're both right. But hey, it's only spelt differently, right? But aluminum, aluminium, whatever you want to call it, breathing air containing aluminium dust may cause irritation and metal fume fever, which is characterized by symptoms such as fever, headache, and fatigue. Ingestion of aluminium is usually not harmful, but may cause stomach upset with diarrhea if large quantities are eaten. And I'd imagine if you are ingesting it consistently for a long time, it is going to cause havoc. It would cause havoc with your stomach. And there is a serious amount of that in the UK. Big time. And what about a fever, headache, and fatigue? Does that sound familiar to anyone? No? I bet it does. What happens if you inhale aluminium dust? Exposure to aluminium can cause, like we said, metal fume fever. This is a flu-like illness with symptoms of metallic taste in the mouth, headache, fever and chills, aches, chest tightness and cough. The symptoms may be delayed for several hours after exposure and usually last for a day or two. Now, does that not sound familiar? I bet it does, because it certainly does to me. And this is one of the elements that we definitely know they have been spraying, without a doubt. Now, that might answer a lot of questions that we have basically floating around that are unanswered or so far unexplainable. These fevers, headaches, chills, fatigue, flu-like illness. Yeah, I wonder, right? Before we get into the documentary, there's a geoengineering technique they talked about. We've covered it before, where they... I can't do this without laughing, man. Honestly, it is just insane. Honest to God. And this will probably still happen. But there's a idea they had where it was basically to help the ice. Excuse me. It was basically to stop the ice from melting. The polar bears! Save the ice! Yeah, all that, right? So they wanted to come up with an idea on how they could help the ice and make it grow and not melt. Because melting bad, growing good, right? So they got all their wee experts together. They gathered them all in from right across the board. Wee Billy Rockefeller, George Soros, Bezos, the whole lot. And they came up with this great idea, right? The idea is you get these wee tiny They're basically like a glass ball, but they're basically the size of a hair, a human hair, a wee ball, a wee glass ball, hollow ball, a teeny weeny one. So the idea is you make a gazillion, million, quadrillion, billion of these wee glass beads, and then you scatter them on the ice. Hooray! Problem solved. You can all go back to bed now. It's fine. We put the wee beads on it. All is good in the hood. Look, the weather's fine now, right? Great idea. Well, it turns out maybe not such a good idea after all. Shock horror. Who'd have thought it? Oh, man. Now, as insane as it is, and I'm kind of going out on a limb here, I think they probably still will do it. And what this is about, God only knows. Because it's only going to end up in disaster. But of course, that's where they make their money. In disaster. Natural disaster, of course. So what they're saying is, right, instead of helping the ice, it would actually make it worse. Wild proposal to use glass to save Arctic could backfire. Dun dun dun. Look at them on a boat. The ice is melting. Ah. Yeah, I'm surprised there's not a wee polar bear with a sign saying, help me. Feed me. Please. Right? Too far? Yeah. I'm here all week, right? So it's not going to be a good idea after all. And they reckon that basically instead of stopping it from melting, it would actually accelerate the melting. Oh, bugger. I've just went and ordered all these beads. I know what they could do with them beads, right? Yeah. And Bill Gates would be involved. I reckon they're still going to do it. And I mean, it sounds insane. I know it does, but I think they probably will do it. There's something behind it. The reason I'm unsure yet, but again, it's one we're going to get into in the future. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at the documentary. So you might want to grab a drink and get me a double whiskey at the same time. I think we're going to need it, right? Like I said, this got made in 2005, so it's quite old. And I mean, it doesn't seem that long ago, but hey, so much has happened. It's like an eternity ago, even 2005. Insane, really. Has anyone watched it before? If you've seen it, then by all means, you're free to go, right? Everyone's running out the door. Go, go, go. I've seen it. I hadn't seen it until I watched it a few days ago. And to be fair, I'm quite impressed by it. It could do with a bit of improvement here and there, but so could I. So what can I say? But it's great. It really is a great documentary. And I felt the need to share it, right? If you've not seen it, you're about to. And it's one you can share with other people that might be living in denial. Honestly, wake up, right? Don't make me come over there. Look up, get your act together. The time to act is now. So we're going to get into it. Let me quickly jump in the chat. I am going to be about. Why have we got a bot? Spam bot? What is DJ brung into the chat? as soon as DJ appears, we get the bot, the sex bot. I think DJ or Sensor's been phoning them up. How on earth does that happen? I thought I had stopped it, but there you go. One of these days, we're going to get it right. Terraforming potentially is one thing that they're doing. I certainly wouldn't rule that out. To what end with that, I'm unsure. But yeah, put the kettle on. We're going to be getting into it. Spanish Chicken, good to see you back again. And of course, Skywalker. Steve as well. Yeah, what could go wrong, right? It'll be fine. Don't be silly. Go back to sleep. It's totally cool. All right, nothing to worry about whatsoever. Lots of people in the hood. Great stuff. DJ as well. Good to see you. Wendy B in the hood. Fantastic, right? So, like I said, I am going to be about. I might take a few notes. I'm not going to commentate over it. Although I might jump in from time to time, but to be honest, that'll only annoy the flow of it. So probably not a good idea. So what we'll do is we're going to see it through. It's going to take us at least an hour and a half. I'm afraid there's not much I can do about that. I can't speed the video up, right? So it's going to take a wee while, but honestly, it's not to be missed. And like I said, do whatever you need to do. If you need to come back and watch it another time. So I guess without further ado, I'll put it on. And after it, if anyone's still about, we can possibly discuss it, review it maybe, if I'm not fast asleep. If I've not done a DJ, right? Well, at least I'll try not to, right? But it is getting late. I shouldn't fall asleep. Now that I've said that, I probably will. What I'll do is I'll get a coffee as well. That way I can stay awake, right? And a couple of matches and put them in my eyelids. Walk into college like a zombie. I am streaming on 2 tonight. On That's Life But Not As We Know It and That's Life But Not As We Know It 3. Only because it had been pretty much inactive for a long time. So I've thrown it a bone tonight. And we are live on Twitch as well, right? But the main show, I guess, it goes down at That's Life But Not As We Know It. And don't forget the website, that's life but not as we know it.com. How could you forget? Right? Of course, if you're anything like me, you can easily forget. And what have I got here as well? I'll get a coffee. And it's a bit late to be eating sweets, but I have got a fries cream, an orange one. Do we know what a fries cream is? A dark chocolate one. Does anyone eat them? The Yanks might not have heard of a fries cream, to be honest, but they're lovely. So we're going to now head over to the documentary. I'll mute me, then I'll put it on, and I'm hoping we're not going to have any audio issues, right? The documentary, hey, it might not be for everyone, which is fine, but I think anybody with a, interest in the chemtrail situation, you're going to certainly enjoy it. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's worth watching, right? We'll go with that. Mannequin, sorry. He enjoys a fries cream. I like the orange ones, not the mint ones, or what's the other one again? Just an original, I think. Mint, original, orange. Is there another one? I'm unsure. More on that another time, I guess, right? So we'll get rid of we'll clear the screen even. We'll get rid of me and then we'll play the documentary, right? So here it goes. Catch you in a bit.
Please remember the world that you are now seeing, for this natural world is in jeopardy. And even if you are willing to help put an end to what you are about to see, you may never be able to see the world in the same way again. In the early part of 1999, an immense operation began, an operation using aircraft that many of us will find difficult to accept. This operation involves a dispersal of massive amounts of fine materials into the atmosphere, and the implications of these actions are grave and far-reaching, and they strain the limits of understanding. There will be counterclaims to the evidence that is presented within this film, and you will be told that all is normal and as it should be. You will be told that there is nothing to be concerned about, and that all is as it has always been. Your eyewitness accounts will be dismissed as unreliable. This dismissal by claimed authorities and officials will be in direct contradiction to fundamental physical principles and your own common sense, but you will encounter it nonetheless. This dismissal now spans a time period of more than 5 years, and it accompanies a grassroots awareness that has been reached by millions of concerned and engaged citizens. From this point on, I urge you to use your own mind to reach your own conclusions on the truth of the matter. What you are seeing now is quite normal. These contrails are the trademark of high-altitude aircraft since the close of World War II. You notice that the condensation disappears fairly quickly, much like your breath on a cold winter day. This is as it should be, and as it has been. For those curious enough to delve into the physics, chemistry, and thermodynamics of contrails, this normalcy has a more thorough explanation. Yes, science and common sense do agree, and the balances of nature are achieved with this common phenomenon. And now we must take a different turn, a turn to explore an unusual world that now surrounds us, and yet a world that many of us remain unaware of. The atmosphere of this planet has been changed, and you are now being introduced to one of the main causes of that change. The aircraft at the upper portion of the screen is leaving a normal contrail, and it vanishes as any trail of water vapor is expected to. But beneath it, you see an aircraft emission that is stationary, thick, continuous, and persistent, and it must eventually be concluded that it is not primarily water vapor. The environmental conditions for each trail are not exceptionally different from one another, and yet the result and impact from each trail is entirely different. The only logical way this can occur is if the trails themselves are very different from one another, and indeed they are. The majority of the footage that you are now seeing has been filmed in the high desert regions of New Mexico. This is an arid environment with very low humidity levels. It is, in fact, a classic region for conventional contrail formation. Contrails themselves can and do form easily in a low humidity environment. In the past, the passing of a short-lived contrail in the high, clear desert sky was an innocuous and frequent occurrence. Cold and dry conditions, exactly those conditions that are normally found in the upper atmosphere, are extremely favorable to contrail formation. The humidity levels of the upper atmosphere are actually relatively low, and is one of the very reasons that most clouds occur in the middle of the troposphere, being the lower portion of our atmosphere up to an altitude of approximately 7 miles or so. As this examination of our atmosphere continues, we will be now required to consider 4 types of events or phenomena. In addition to the customary existence of clouds and contrails, we must now consider a new entry, that of the aerosol. An aerosol is a solid particle in suspension, either in a liquid or a gas, and in this case we are considering the atmosphere as the gas to study. The aerosols will manifest in 2 primary forms, as an aerosol emission from aircraft and as an aggregate or collection of aerosols in the atmosphere. A suitable term for this collection of aerosols is an aerosol bank. It is known now that the persistent trails that form the subject of this film are primarily solid in nature and origin, and that they are not predominantly water vapor. A brief explanation of cloud formation will help us to understand why this is so. Clouds, that is, normal clouds, require 2 fundamental elements to form, particles and moisture. Clouds are not suited to form in especially clean air. They require particulate matter, called condensation nuclei, that act as a base for water vapor to adhere to. The size of these nuclei, for the process to be effective, must be extremely small. The size of these nuclei are on the order of sub-micron. For comparison, a human hair is 60 to 100 microns thick, and an asbestos fiber is a couple of microns in thickness. The other essential component for normal clouds to form is a minimum level of humidity. From numerous sources, this minimum is on the order of 70% relative humidity. Notice that the requirements for cloud formation and contrail formation are already entirely different from one another. This is because they are entirely different phenomena based upon entirely different physical principles. Contrails can and should form readily in clean, cold, and dry air. Normal clouds, on the other hand, require higher moisture levels and a particulate or aerosol base from which to develop. The radical transformation of our sky as a direct result of aircraft activity now forces us to address an entirely new set of conditions. Aircraft are now repeatedly dispersing materials into the upper atmosphere at flight altitude, roughly from 35,000 to 40,000 feet. These materials expand rather than evaporate, and they usually transform into an unsightful haze that over the recent years has decreased our general visibility, down to ground levels. One of the remarkable facts is that this commonly now occurs at very low levels of relative humidity, on the order of 30 to 40%, instead of the 70% or greater that is associated with cloud formation. And so we know now that these are not clouds in any conventional sense. They are indeed a unique and artificial creation that now crosses new thresholds in the atmospheric and geophysical sciences. There is one way that such a transformation can be made, and that is with the introduction of vast quantities of an extremely small, water-loving metallic salt at flight altitude. This transformation cannot be achieved with water vapor alone, and the emissions under examination are indeed not water vapor. They are solid, and they are well entrenched into your air supply. These important conclusions are at the very heart of the aerosol operations that are being disclosed here. These changes in the very atmosphere that we breathe have a fundamental impact upon the life of this planet, and these aerosol operations have many potential applications that reduce the sanctity of that life. These operations are being conducted. They are being conducted without your participation or your informed consent. They are affecting your life, the lives of those you know and love, and the very life of the planet itself. Once it was yours to see. The blue sky is your birthright and a source for joy, and it remains at the very core of our existence. There are factual reasons for the blue color of the sky, which can certainly be traced to the cleanliness and clarity of the air that you breathe. But please do not lose the wonder of the sky itself, the magic and emotions that you have once shared with the earth in all of its glory. These are more than facts, reasons, and observations. They are the experiences and memories of life itself. You can no longer see blue now, at least not in the same way that many of us know and remember. Your horizon has largely turned to white, and there is a very good reason that this is so. These fine, solid materials, or aerosols, are now in your way, and you will see clearly no more. The source and origin of these aerosols is now abundantly clear, and the aircraft operations have now made their mark upon this planet. It is a mark that you must now live with, and that you must now breathe, and that you must bear the consequences of. That is, unless we all become aware of the level of damage that has already been done, and unless we act together to reclaim our planet and its atmosphere. These images were taken in what was once one of the cleanest locations on the earth, and that is the high desert of the Southwest. You may now see for yourself the daily reality of your existence, and it is a sad change that we have allowed to occur. Please, remember the color blue. In the early part of 1999, a website under the name of www.carnicum.com was created to call attention to the unusual events and effects surrounding aircraft activity over the southwestern desert skies of the United States. The developer of that site was a generally quiet and conservative former federal employee with no political or environmental notoriety. Within a matter of days, it was apparent that this site was immediately drawing attention from a broad host of high-level government and military agencies, defense contractors, research organizations, chemical and pharmaceutical companies, and health organizations. This interest was documented on this same site for a period of several months, by which time an obvious pattern of monitoring the developing research was apparent. Over the next few years, a glaring disparity had evolved. On one hand, a high level of monitoring of documentation, sampling methods, research, analysis, and disclosure efforts was now documented. On the other, a campaign of continuous dismissal of the significance of the issue and a refusal to investigate was conducted by those very same visitors. You are now seeing a small sample of these frequent visitors and monitoring agencies and companies, such as the Pentagon, multiple Air Force bases, the United States Senate, aircraft manufacturers, pharmaceutical and drug companies, national security, intelligence and emergency agencies, weapon and defense system contractors, research organizations, and the media. The United States Air Force is now on public record as declaring that the entire subject of this documentary is a hoax. This assertion was first made by Lieutenant Colonel Michael K. Gibson in August of 2000, when he stated that, quote, "The chemtrail hoax has been investigated and refuted by many established and accredited universities, scientific organizations, and major media publications." End quote. This assertion was later escalated when Colonel Walter M. Washabaugh in 2001 repeated verbatim the previous declaration. Colonel Washabaugh also did not opt to provide the detailed list of the refuting parties. Charles H. Taylor, North Carolina, from the House of Representatives, has stated in March of 2000, in a response to constituent concern, that he has been, quote, "informed by the Air Force that these chemtrails are nothing more than ordinary contrails," unquote. He also states that they pose no environmental hazard or risk to human health, and that we can be assured that he will continue to monitor this issue. Harold Halsness, from the Office of Secretary of Defense, and in response to a direct inquiry to former President of the United States, William Jefferson Clinton, in January of 2000, states that he is familiar with some of the reports on this issue, but that he finds them unsubstantiated by the facts. In addition, assurances offered that there is certainly no cause for alarm. In the first of many responses from the United States Environmental Protection Agency, under the directive of Carol M. Browner, Administrator, it is acknowledged in December of 1999 that citizen concern is focused on whether or not aircraft may be involved in operations that release chemical or biological substances. The EPA responds that they are, quote, "unaware," unquote, of any such applications by such aircraft. In January of 2000, a certified letter including a physical sample of highly unusual airborne fibrous material is sent to Carol M. Browner with a request for identification of the material on behalf of the public environmental and health interest. The EPA responds again in February of 2000 in two separate letters with the statement that they are, quote, "unaware," unquote, of any programs to disperse materials into the atmosphere using aircraft. The EPA does not acknowledge the receipt of or the existence of physical materials within the correspondence. In October of 2000, a series of more than 1,000 petition letters of concern was sent to Carol Browner as an indication of significant citizen concern on the aerosol issue. The EPA responded once again in December of 2000 that they continue to remain, quote, "unaware," unquote, of any aerial application of chemical or biological substances that may have an adverse effect upon the population. After a period of approximately 6 months, the EPA continues to take no action regarding the identification of the physical sample under their custody, and no acknowledgement of the receipt of that sample is made. The discovery of unusual biological components within that sample by independent researchers heightens the concern for identification of that material. In response to an inquiry from Senator Jesse Helms of North Carolina to the Environmental Protection Agency, Region 4, the EPA once again responds with the phrase of choice, that is, the EPA is, quote, not aware, unquote, of any programs to disperse materials on the population using aircraft. The EPA expresses its appreciation over concern about protecting the environment and is hopeful that their reply addresses any concerns. Greenpeace, an international environmental organization, when contacted regarding the aerosol issue, stated in September of 2000 that they are, quote, unable to comment, unquote, and that they do, quote, not have an official position, unquote, on the matter. In a separate correspondence, Greenpeace responded to a citizen that they are concerned about global environmental problems and that they do not have local chapters that can help with this particular situation. In October of 1999, Senator Jeff Bingaman of New Mexico replied to a concerned constituent that the Air Force has assured to him that what is being observed are simply normal aircraft contrails. It is further stated that although there may be the appearance of an aerosol operation, this is not the case. Senator Bingaman also informs the constituent that he will ensure that the Air Force will reassure people about this issue. United States Senator Richard Lugar replies to a constituent in July of 2000 that what is being observed is simply a normal contrail, as has been seen since the close of World War II. Furthermore, Senator Lugar states that the FAA, NOAA, the EPA, and academic professors have examined the claims only to find out that they have been made by disreputable sources and that upon challenge provide no evidence or data. Representative Mike Thompson of California replies in April of 2000 to a concerned individual that what is being reported and observed is simply a normal consequence of aircraft traffic and that there is no environmental hazard or risk to health. The State of New Mexico Environment Department in September of 1999 acknowledges a number of complaints received regarding aircraft activities over the skies of Santa Fe, New Mexico. The Environment Department declares that the, quote, data, unquote, does not suggest that any illegal or clandestine activity is occurring. A scientific document that discusses the nature of normal contrail formation is included within the reply to the New Mexico resident. The citizen is advised to keep the department abreast of any concerns. The Attorney General of New Mexico, Patricia Madrid, in November of 1999, also acknowledges multiple inquiries to her office regarding unusual aircraft operations. The Attorney General declares that there is, quote, substantial evidence, unquote, that the activity and contrails are well within the range of normal aerial activity. After issuing this notice, Patricia Madrid declines to respond to two personal visits made to her office by Clifford Carnicom, a concerned citizen, to discuss the aerosol issue. The Ohio Environmental Protection Agency responds to a citizen in November of 1999 by stating that they are, quote, unable to complete an investigation, unquote, and that they do appreciate the concern expressed by the citizen about the environment. The ABC News 2020 investigative journalism staff respond that, quote, unfortunately, unquote, a request for examination of the aerosol issue was not chosen, and that 2020 thanks the citizen for thinking of them and being in touch. And in June of 2001, 1.5 years after the original submission, the United States Environmental Protection Agency acknowledged the receipt of the unusual fibrous physical material. This acknowledgement followed a Freedom of Information inquiry on the topic submitted by a citizen. The EPA refused to identify this sample, stating that it, quote, was not the policy of this office of EPA to test or otherwise analyze any unsolicited samples of material or matter. Since the beginning of 1999, a series of more than 36 scientific, physical, observational, and analytic methods have been used to examine the dramatic alteration of the atmosphere that has taken place. These tests have been conducted with much labor, time, and expense. They have been conducted with very limited resources and equipment, much of it requiring original construction, development, or modification. What follows is a partial presentation of these sampling methods. The diversity and thoroughness of examination is apparent in the work that has now spanned more than 5 years. The officials and authorities have not attempted to replicate these testing methods, at least not publicly. They have not reacted to the results in any formal fashion, and they have not tangibly responded to the many calls for public inquiry and investigation that have been made. The methods and results of all testing procedures are available on the website www.carnicom.com, and this research represents a substantial body of information that may be helpful in interpreting the designs and motivations behind the aerosol operations. Essentially, the method is one of reverse engineering for a global covert operation, and there is no limit to the work that remains to be done. These findings, conducted for more than 5 years, are offered to the public. These studies begin with an examination of contrails themselves, a very common and ordinary phenomenon involving the freezing of water vapor into ice and their subsequent dissipation through evaporation and mixing. Meteorological studies of contrail formation and cloud formation have been made. Visibility standards and their reduction from a maximum of 40 to 10 miles have been called to attention. A study of pH, or of acid and alkalinity level, of rainfall has been conducted by a network of concerned citizens across the country. Highly unusual statistical results are present in the vast majority of these studies. Telephotos have been captured in the earlier phase of operations that directly show emissions from aircraft that are in complete defiance of any normal contrail formation. These unusual emissions are not a result of environmental conditions. They originate from the aircraft and can be shown in these cases to have no dependence upon even the engines of the aircraft. HEPA, or high-efficiency particulate air filters, have been used in various states to directly filter the outdoor air in repeated tests. Some of the materials found include the repeated presence of unusual filaments, a gel formation, crystals, and powders. Extraordinary levels of particulate materials have been directly observed and recorded using simple methods discovered by citizens across the country. These methods include the corona of the sun and extremely powerful lamps. Caution with the solar method is especially advised. These observations have been taken under the most ideal weather and air quality conditions, and they nevertheless provide alarming and direct evidence of the substantial changes that have occurred in our atmosphere. Rainwater samples have been distilled to concentrate any solid materials or particulates. Metallic-based materials are evident upon observation. Unusual airborne filament samples have been collected from a variety of locations across the nation, as well as the globe. These fibers are highly unusual in their properties, and any claims of being simply spider webs cannot be substantiated. Samples of these fibers have been sent directly to the administrator of the United States Environmental Protection Agency. Subsequent observation of these fibers under the microscope produces disturbing results, including the occurrence of unusual biological components. The United States EPA has refused to identify these fibers. Incredibly high mold counts have been found within repeated outdoor samples that have been taken. This result is in spite of the fact that the tests were conducted in an extremely arid environment in the high southwest of the United States. This arid environment has been further aggravated by extended drought conditions over the past several years, also a topic to be discussed further. It is a fact that particulate matter in the atmosphere acts as a transport mechanism or delivery system for other materials, including biological materials that can piggyback onto the solid materials. This is in addition to the health risk, including respiratory illness and increased mortality that result from higher levels of particulate matter in the air. It is also a fact that must be reported, despite the disturbing and alarming implications, that unusual and unexpected biological components have been repeatedly identified in a variety of atmospheric samples across a wide geographic area using a variety of techniques. The fibrous material sent to the United States EPA is especially unsettling, as it was later shown to contain biological components under the review of a medical professional. For those who might think that biological aerosols have no precedent, it might be worthwhile to read carefully the documented U.S. Senate hearings held in 1977, entitled Examination of Serious Deficiencies in the Defense Department's Effort to Protect the Human Subjects of Drug Research, along with the contractors that are enumerated within that report. A variety of electromagnetic devices have been developed and used. This investigation has resulted from the plausible hypothesis that the atmosphere has now been modified into what is called a plasma state, or an electrified gas. Testing has produced a variety of indications that this hypothesis is indeed correct, and that the atmosphere is regularly being used for electromagnetic applications. ELF energy is of special concern because of its direct connection to the health aspects of the electromagnetic nature of human beings. Artificial pulse energy appears to now have been detected on a variety of occasions, and evidence indicates that it is now a part of our unseen environment. Electrolysis methods have further confirmed the existence of unexpected ionizing metallic salts within our atmosphere. Radar anomalies also continue to point to the presence of an altered electromagnetic environment. The testing and sampling methods and results that you have just witnessed are necessary due to the abject failure of the public environmental authorities to respond appropriately to the many requests for investigation that have been made by countless citizens. The responses of the so-called officials and authorities has already become painfully apparent.
Jet spraying stuff in the air. I went outside, I looked out, it was in the morning, and lo and behold, there was, what I thought were contrails, numerous jets spraying, probably 4 or 5 jets. The contrails were not dissipating, they continued in the air, and I watched. Actually, I was horrified because I'd never seen anything like this before, as it continued all day long. And the result was, within a couple hours, the entire sky was totally blotted out with this messy white haze. I started documenting after I discovered that nobody was paying attention, and that even people who would look up and acknowledge that they see the same thing, they weren't at all concerned about it. They didn't think that it was anything of importance. And when I moved to Santa Fe, one of the things that, one of the reasons I moved here was because of the sun and the beautiful sky that they had here. And I've been somebody who's always watched the sky. And the sky here was deep blue and beautiful, and it was something that gave me energy. It was just something that just elevated my spirit every time I saw it, no matter how bad my day was going. If I could get outside and see that beautiful sky and those big fluffy white clouds, everything was okay. And so I
Well, well, well. Ah, man. Only me, right? Do you know this? The battery I never expected the battery to die as quick as it did. So I don't know. I'm gonna blame DJ. DJ's getting the blame. He Jonah'd it. He jinxed it, right? But I am still here, of course. And typical that. I'm unsure if I'm even gonna get where we were at, where we had got to. I'm gonna have to check. I'm unsure as to what point it was at, and I can't go back to the point I can't go back to the website we were on because it wouldn't let me restore the closed page. Honestly, me and technology, right? How long had that been going? Does anyone know? Let me see. Where did we get to? Can I quickly check? Honestly, that is so typical. I think it might have been half an hour in, right? See, I just can't. I can't multitask. I simply can't. Let me see. What I'll do is I'll screen share. I should be able to screen share, and we can take it from there. Right, there's a poem for you. So there could be about another hour, I think, but you don't have to worry. I'm not going to be falling asleep. I won't be doing a DJ. We are here. We are rolling, and I think it might. Let me see. I think we got. Did we see that guy? I think we did. I think we seen that. We seen the fiber. We seen the mold. Right? Oh man. Interesting. The black mold one. The fiber one. I've heard quite a bit about. The black mold. I know in a horticultural sense, that is a sort of black fungus and black mold is a lot more common than it ever has been. I wonder what that could be because of, right? I think we got to maybe about this guy. We seen this guy, did we? On the piano, showing off. Check me. Playing the piano, right? Knows his stuff. And remember, that was way back, 2005, possibly before then. And similar to ourselves, the guy was noticing other people didn't care. Better things to do, right? Where did we get to? I don't think we got that far. Well, we'll just go back to... I'm unsure. Possibly about there, right? We're going to go with that. Go until the blue block warning of low battery. Yeah, I'm not sure if I can find that in the documentary. To be honest, I don't think anyone can remember where we got to. Someone said unsubbed. I can't blame you. I'm doing it myself. Halfway through, well, maybe halfway through a documentary, and the laptop died. One of these days, right? One of these days, we're gonna get it right. We can at least live in hope. So I'm gonna play it from where it's at, right? So we will continue, and then if anyone's still about, we'll catch up, and then we'll take it from there. But let me see. We'll get rid of me, and then we'll play, right? So here it goes.
Is getting accustomed to the pale blue, often white skies that we live with. But I see them going over, and I've taken hundreds of photographs showing this is not your normal contrail that should dissipate. Question: You notice a distinct change then from the 1990 era? Response. Distinct is not the word. Dramatic, devastating. You can pick out any adjective you want. It is dramatically changed, the atmosphere. Dramatically. Yes, extremely distinct. Question. You live on Native American Indian land here. What is the sense of and the reaction of the Native American community to what is occurring? Well, it's interesting. I figured if anybody would pick up on it, it would be the Native Americans. And so I immediately went to friends of mine in the community and said, "Have you guys noticed?" And they are like, "Oh, yes, we know absolutely what is going on." In fact, all 13 of the Pueblo governors had a meeting in secret to discuss it, what they would do. Would they come out and protest it openly? What would they do? And after this meeting, they determined the following things. No, they would not. That it was just another dumb thing the white guy was doing. And at that point, I don't think they understood the true significance. But now I think they do. But more importantly, that people wouldn't believe them. Or if they did believe them, would think it was only happening in this very confined space, and it really didn't affect them. And they were concerned for the gaming, that people wouldn't come to the casinos and things because they would think that just this area was experiencing it. So they voted unanimously to not say anything. Question. So even the Native American community did not show the level of independence or the level of assertiveness to make this an issue? Response. It was heartbreaking to me. But they're a little more philosophical, too. One of the medicine people that's a friend said to me, "You know, this has been prophesized. We call it the death winds. We always thought that it would be nuclear fallout. But maybe this is the death winds." They have a very skeptical view anyway of what the white man's intentions are. Comment. And with good cause. Response. And with good cause. And with history behind it. So, and they've also lost every battle, basically, they have fought that way. But I think as more and more of them get sick, and they are, there is maybe a wider awakening that this is really, really serious. Question. You have a background in the world of journalism, and specifically broadcast journalism. Can you talk a little bit about that background, and also the relationship of the media to what is occurring, what has failed, what has worked, any efforts that you have made to motivate the media to involve themselves in this, to cover this issue? Response. Yes, well, you and I are friends now, so you know that I was in broadcasting for 30 years. I worked for all 3 affiliated networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, in many of the larger markets, and I culminated my career as an anchor at CNN and Headline News. So the medicine part of me was kind of going along as my passion. And so I made my living and had my career as a broadcaster. And any free time I had was spent studying the medicine, because that was where my true heart lay. So I have over the years a lot of really good contacts in some pretty high places in the media. But I would imagine pretty much everybody watching this will know there has been dramatic changes in the media. Who owns the media? The quality of human now being attracted into the media. In other words, why are they there? When I started, it was mostly all print folk, and they kind of had to tell us, come on, clean up your act. This is visual. But people were coming from the old school of journalistic, afflict the comfortable, and comfort the afflicted. And you are the watchdog, and you go for that story, and you never accept the official version, and on and on and on. Most of the media and information we get now is owned by only 3 companies. When they deregulated, the FCC deregulated, they allowed these huge, like AOL, Time Warner, to gobble up. So you've got these large entities controlling all the information, whether it's film, radio. Okay, so the complexion has changed, and I would say the kind of person drawn into it, when it became a place where you could make a really good living, and people would go, "Oh, I know you, you're so-and-so." It drew people with different agendas. So you don't necessarily have the hardcore, old-fashioned, get the story. I don't care if my hair is a mess. I don't care if I'm dripping wet. There's a few out there still, but for the most part. So that's that. And yes, When this started, I called in every chip I ever had. I called a very good buddy at CNN who really assigned most of the stories. He was very high, very interested. I sent him your website, a lot of your information. He was high, yay, yay, shut down, and I never did get an explanation. As you well know, I contacted some of our local media people. The main anchor on the local station wanted to do a story, we thought, and we shot a lot of video of the activity. In those days, it was very obvious. Now it's a little harder. You don't have the mornings where you have the deep blue sky, and then the afternoon. You get the pale blue-white sky if you're lucky. And as you well know, that story never aired. Comment. I would consider that a fairly serious dedicated effort by a media person, and yet we saw nothing come of it. Response. Nothing came of it. Exactly. As you well know, the USA Today, which is an international publication, did a story on it, but it was obviously with an agenda, basically poking fun at those goofy people who saw those things. I believe there was one or two credible people interviewed, but for the most part, the reporter started out with an agenda to sort of mock, make fun of those people who were seeing things in the sky. And if I had a dime for everybody else that they called, wrote, or begged, I could at least buy an ice cream cone. To no avail, just hitting a wall. Comment. And this was with all your connections. Response. This is with years of connections. It's unprecedented in my life. And I cannot name another story. People point to Watergate as this big watershed cover-up. I find that laughable. This, in my opinion, is the biggest story, and I approached many of my colleagues this way. This is the biggest story in recorded human history. You have an entire planet now covered with whatever by whoever, and nobody's even acknowledging it. What the heck is going on, and how come we don't know? Question. That's the question. What could explain that level of refusal? Response. A few things, okay? A few things, to be fair. Fear. I saw that. Fear. Because the folks that get it know who's doing it, and they're afraid. Okay? They know it's something bigger than them. They know all the possibilities of who is able to put planes in the sky, that many, every day, 24/7. It doesn't take a nuclear physicist to figure out that it's not the guy around the corner. This is big. Comment. So even the journalist has that threshold that they're unwilling to cross. Response. Oh yeah, afraid. And a few that are left who do catch on to it and say, wow, I want to do this story, like we were just discussing. They hit a wall somewhere, and I'm never told where it is. I don't know if it's the news director. I don't know if it's a station manager. I don't know who. But they hit that brick wall, and it goes away.
Alex Merklinger's Mysteries of the Mind. It is the world that has been pulled over your minds.
As you know, I've been a pilot for over 40 years. I've been flying. I stopped counting my hours at 3,500 hours, which is a fair amount. I've owned 7 airplanes in my life. I have ratings all the way up to twin IFR. I am not jet rated, but, you know, everything else. But today, Clifford, when all of a sudden you see these trails in the sky in the morning when you wake up, and by late morning, early afternoon, the sky is totally overcast. It is not natural. The government and other people say, oh, well, that's a contrail, condensation, contrail that all planes do at a certain altitude. And I said, you don't know what you're talking about. Yes, there are contrails. Go back to World War II, we had contrails, but they didn't last. This was, you know, in those days, it was condensation of moisture. And then it dissipates after I don't know, maybe depending on the altitude, maybe a minute, maybe a little over a minute, but around a minute, and it's gone. These things last all day long, unless there's a strong wind and it blows out of the way. Now it's gotten so bad, and I talk to people, as you know, all over the world, and it's happening almost every country that I'm aware of in the world. We have listeners in at least 50 countries that we know of, and people are always reporting back. If we get into a discussion or times that you have been on the show before, people come back and just report incredible experiences. They have a lot of respiratory problems. They never had that before. People are having a lot of sinus problems. They've never had that before. And it's always after they have been inundated with some of these sprays. You also asked about, how do people feel about it? They are extremely concerned because there seems to be something that is happening that is affecting them physically and in some cases even emotionally and psychologically. So there is a drastic change in what is happening around us in 5 years, 5.5 years. And people have never seen this or experienced this before.
Clifford, it's so good to be on tape in person with you on this subject. I know before we couldn't show my face, we couldn't hear my voice because I was under contractual agreement. I'm no longer under that contractual agreement. So I can be here in person, and that feels good. And I thank you so much for translating my prior discussion with you on the media and all of that. But today, what I'd really like to talk about is the medicine end, which is my passion and my whole reason for being involved in this is to try to help people stay as well as they can stay given the givens. I also want to say something that's very important to my heart is that I am deeply patriotic. That's all I really want to say. Never thought I'd live to be seeing these times. As you know, recently information was brought to us that's critical in terms of health. So I want to deal with that first, and then we can go back and talk about the other contents of this aerosol spray and the impact of the body, and perhaps some mitigating medicines. We have found out through a very credentialed research doctor that perhaps what we're seeing occasionally show up in our air supply is a fungus. The reason this is so critical is apparently this fungus dramatically compromises the immune system by consuming those nutrients the immune system uses to repair and rebuild. And like every system in our body, the immune system has to keep rebuilding itself. It will wear out, it will wear down, and it has to keep regenerating. If it doesn't have those nutritional tools to do that, your immune system becomes dramatically compromised, unable to deal with any kind of invader. That's why I think we're seeing so many more colds and flus than we've seen in the last 5.5, 6 years, than we've seen in a long time. I know in my clients, these things are like epidemic. Sinus infections, colds and flus, that's on the lighter side. On the heavier side, we're seeing a lot more cancers and some very devastating disease, implying an extremely compromised immune system. Part of that has to be this fungal kind of invasion because, as I said, this fungus eats the nutrients that the immune system uses to rebuild itself. People say, well, what do you do about a fungus? Well, there's some things that we know that are very good natural medicines for fungal invasions like that. Garlic kills fungus pretty much on contact. The Chinese mushrooms, reishi, shiitake, maitake, particularly in extract form, have been had a lot of efficacy. Caprylic acid, which you can find in any health food store. There are a number of things. And finally, colloidal silver, we know, is a major antifungal. So when people are looking at their bodies and saying, why am I always feeling kind of run down and tired? It may be we're being told now that this person is looking at the blood of many, many people, and in almost everyone, this fungus shows up in their bloodstream. So that's something we can take care of. If it becomes something in the lungs, We can do the tea tree oil inhales. We also know that we're getting a lot of particulate heavy metals, all of which not good for the body. And I'd like to just quick run through them, their potential damage to the body, but then also some mitigating medicines we can do. We know that there's some aluminum in this, and we also know that aluminum, unfortunately, can cross the blood-brain barrier. And we know through research it's been correlated to diseases like Alzheimer's, if not so extreme, certainly short-term memory loss. So sad to say, the blood-brain barrier does not recognize aluminum as a toxin and lets it go through into the brain. The good news is if you have enough what are called essential fatty acids in your system, your brain has the ability to take that metal, aluminum, and push it out of the brain into your hair. And I think that's why so many people who are getting hair analysis are seeing high concentrates of aluminum in their hair. It's the brain doing its job trying to get this toxin out. Some good essential fatty acids that you can consider are flaxseed oil, evening primrose oil, and most recently brought to me very profound is krill, K-R-I-L-L oil. It's a fish oil that's fairly pure. These essential fatty acids allow the brain to get rid of that aluminum. We also know that barium is part of the mix, and barium, besides being a carcinogenic, knocks pretty much all the potassium out of your body. And I'm seeing in my clients a lot of muscle weakness, a lot of heart palpitations, all related to either a complete loss of potassium or way too low level of potassium. So we know since we're bringing barium in and it's knocking the potassium out, we need to supplement more potassium in. And I would say for anybody who's listening to me, the responsible thing would be to say to share whatever you decide to do with your healthcare practitioner, because if you're on certain medications, it can contraindicate. But these are just general guidelines and information for people, not prescription, not diagnostic. Yeah. There is also apparently some titanium in this mix from your research, again, another heavy metal, and magnesium. And for a long time, I could not understand why that would be a bad thing, because we're always encouraging people, to take some magnesium in. However, my brother, who's a physicist, accidentally gave me an answer that I had been seeking 2 or 3 years, why I was seeing so many blood clots and thick, sticky blood platelets. And it's epidemic now, and constantly running commercials for blood thinners and on and on. Well, he tells me when you combine an aluminum ion with a magnesium ion, it clots the blood. So we have both of those in this mix. My personal choice is ginger root for blood thinning. I take ginger root capsules every day. There's also an herb called ginkgo biloba that also thins the blood. But this is a very important cautionary. If anybody is on a pharmaceutical blood thinner, do not add in any of these other remedies, because you can get your blood so thin that if you cut yourself, your blood won't clot. So it's dangerous. So if you're on any pharmaceutical blood thinner, do not add in ginger root and ginkgo biloba and those kinds of things. But if you're not on a pharmaceutical, these are good natural things you may want to consider in terms of thinning the blood. And then there's I get this question all the time. People say, well, what can we do, to mitigate some of this? I mean, it's in every breath I take. That's something I think it's hard for people to understand. This is not something previously I could say to people, please don't eat margarine. Please don't drink tap water. These things are not good for you. I cannot ask people not to breathe. But what I can say, there are things that you can do to mitigate the amounts of it that you're taking in. One thing that you well know I do is when I'm outdoors, I wear a mask. It's not comfortable. It looks silly. I get stares. But I have to tell you, since I've been doing that, I've noticed a big improvement in what kind of symptomology I've had to deal with. Also, there is a very good all-natural substance called diatomaceous clay that has the unique property of attracting heavy metals to it then binding with them and allowing your body to then send it out through your bowel. In most health food stores, you can find it under the name of bentonite. You have to make sure, though, this diatomaceous clay that you're taking in is food grade, because they do have diatomaceous clay at the nurseries, and that's not pure. But if you go to your health store, or if you know somebody who has food grade diatomaceous clay, that is something I do daily to try to begin to remove these metals, because all heavy metals are detrimental to the system. Again, flaxseed oil, krill oil, the omega-369 oils, very important, particularly for brain function during these times. Potassium supplementation. And another epidemic is sinus infections, and that colloidal silver nasal spray I use, and I've had a lot of friends use it, and it's very effective with helping to clean up those sinus infections caused, I'm sure, by all these particulates. I don't know if you know, one of the top respiratory specialists in the United States was recently on the Today Show. He's written a book called something about the breathing crisis in this country. And he told, I think it was Katie Kirk, I don't recall who was interviewing him, maybe Ann Curry, that death or mortality from respiratory disease had gone from number 8 5 years ago to almost number 3. That's huge. That means that the third leading cause of death now in this country is breathing. And one has to wonder what could have happened in 5 years to have created that kind of crisis, is the only word I can think of. So this is something that anybody who breathes, and I'm assuming that's anybody who might be seeing this documentary, needs to be concerned not only for themselves, but everyone they love. This isn't like a firing squad where everybody goes down and you get to watch it at one time. This is a cumulative poisoning that will demonstrate in different people in different manners, depending on how strong their immune system was to begin with, what their genetics are, and many other factors. So this is something that will demonstrate in a lot of different ways. You're not going to have, as I said, the firing squad effect, but what you will have is over time, more and more debilitated people, more and more people who don't feel well, more and more younger people, which I'm seeing quite a bit of now, in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, with problems that we never saw in that age range, or rarely, I should say, saw. When this began 5.5, almost 6 years ago, 24/7, we know that maybe it's been going on however long, but the 24/7 heavy spraying, during that time, at the beginning, I saw mostly older, frail people and infants suffering and leaving the planet. But now it's coming down the old chronological scale here. So we're dealing with people, teenagers, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, with a lot of debilitating problems. And I know in Albuquerque alone, 5-6 years ago, 6 to 8% of the children were diagnosed as asthmatic. Today, as of now, it's 70%. It's devastating. These are children. I would say to anybody listening, one of the first and most important things that you can do is start to eat your medicine. Get rid of the junk food, get rid of the empty food, get rid of the zapped food, and begin to eat, if you can, organic and free range. If you can, at least good, whole, pure food. Don't zap it in the microwave. That removes all the good digestive enzymes and many of the nutrients. So start with your diet, because your body is under an insult that it's probably never in the history of man, I don't think, seen before. And in order for you to stay healthy and those that you love, you've got to really begin to pay attention to what you're eating, the water that you're drinking. That's the first line of defense. I'd also encourage people to consider a good all-natural vitamin and mineral supplementation program, because, again, our bodies need every bit of help we can give them in these times. You know, it's interesting. One of the most frequently asked questions for those who are conscious and aware of this aerosol operation is, is this intended to harm us? And I can't answer that. I don't know. But what I can say is, do they know that it's harming us? Unequivocally, they do at this point in time. And so one who lives in a free and democratic country would want to wonder, why would the people that we trust to care for us, keep us safe, allow this kind of thing to go on? I personally have gone way deep inside and had many sleepless nights and can't come up with any plausible reason why you could, for any reason, harm so many people in such a dramatic way. And so I would say, if you are like me, you love this country, you're deeply patriotic, that take advantage of that freedom that we are given here in this beautiful land of democracy. Make your voice heard, ask for an explanation, ask for a discussion, so that we can determine if this is something we want in our air supply. We can't just keep ignoring it. It's not going to go away. It's just not going to go away unless people of consciousness and conscience decide to get up off the couch and do something. And they can decide what that something is. Because if they don't, as they watch the people around them and they look at their own health and they see the deterioration, they're going to have to wonder at some point, well, gosh, why didn't I do something when I could?
After confronting the reality of the changes that have been made to the planet, it is a natural question to ask, why? Why would anyone want to? And who would want to alter the very air that we all breathe? We may never know the true answers to these questions, as the evidence is now clear that the aerosol operations are a covert operation, an operation that is never to be openly discussed or disclosed using the traditional channels of a free and democratic society, an operation that will never ask for your consent or for your participation, and that will be conducted regardless of your concern. The answers, especially as to why, do not appear to be simple or restricted to a single purpose. The more that is understood about the nature and potential of the operations, the more complex the picture appears. What can be done, however, is to use the vast body of evidence that has been collected at a grassroots level to make interpretations that are at least consistent with this data. This has been done, and there are now 5 major areas of endeavor that are in agreement with the observations, data, and analysis that extends for more than 5 years. These are: number 1, environmental engineering, modification, and control; 2, electromagnetic operations; 3, military operations; 4, biological operations; and 5, planetary and geophysical change itself. These areas are not mutually exclusive to one another. There is an overlap that can make it difficult to discern where one program may start and another end. It is quite possible that any, and indeed likely that many or all of these operations are being conducted concurrently. What can be done within this brief segment is to explain how and why these types of programs are consistent with the broad spectrum of evidence that is now available to examine. First, with respect to environmental engineering, modification, and control. The evidence now shows that the very physical nature of the atmosphere has been changed. The best information leads to the conclusion that a hygroscopic or water-seeking salt is a dominant component of the aerosols that have been introduced. It is also an observation that has been confirmed over and over, and this is that the operations frequently, if not usually, are conducted in advance of approaching moisture and storms. These salts have the usual effect of locking up that moisture with the solid particles, and to generally reduce the impact of, frequency of, and the amount of moisture that reaches the ground. This is one of the simplest interpretations that can be made that is supported by countless observations, and this is that the moisture levels of weather systems have been altered. It may be no coincidence whatsoever that drought is now commonplace and widespread, and that the moisture of the planet is becoming an increasingly precious and sought-after resource. There are those who make claims that the aerosol operations have an intended benevolent objective to mitigate the effects of global warming. It is also apparently accepted within that same claim that it is best that such an intention not be internationally discussed in public, and that you are best off not knowing about it. Unfortunately, the data does not support the contentions of benevolence that have been made, and in fact, the majority of the data can be considered to have detrimental and potentially disastrous consequences to the life and ecology of this planet, including humans. Furthermore, the vast majority of elements and substances under examination will actually increase the heat levels of the lower atmosphere rather than decrease it when they are placed into it. This is exactly what the observations themselves support, and that is that drought conditions are exacerbated and aggravated by the introduction of the aerosols and not mitigated, as many might choose to believe. In addition, there are many more complicated aspects of environmental control that are possible with the use of conductive aerosols, including the modification of the electrical nature of the atmosphere, as well as thermal instabilities induced by interactions with the magnetic field of the Earth. Storms depend upon the electrical exchanges that take place within the atmosphere. Lightning is the result of electrical imbalances that occur in the electrical fields between the Earth and the atmosphere, altering the collection and distribution of rainfall, interfering with the electrical exchange of energy and producing thermal or heat instabilities. All of these point to a very realistic assessment that environmental modification and control is likely a fundamental agenda within the aerosol operations. The United States Air Force has publicly disclosed a doctrine of owning the weather by 2025, and many have good reason to believe that such objectives have in part already been accomplished. This brief introduction to this topic only considers impacts upon the atmospheric shell, literally an eggshell of life that surrounds this planet. Understanding the full environmental impact, including the soil, the seas and lakes, the flora and fauna, the agriculture that sustains us, can only lead to an ominous portent of environmental change that we must pay the price for with our apathy. Not only are the moisture and heat characteristics of the atmosphere altered with the introduction of aerosols, but the electromagnetic properties have likely been changed as well. An ion is a charged electrical particle, and all of the data supports the claim that massive amounts of easily ionized particles are another important part of the grand geophysical picture. There are some elements that can actually become charged with the energy from ultraviolet light, and even visible light in some cases. Barium is one such element that falls into this category. The implications of being able to modify the atmosphere electrically and magnetically are enormous, and a variety of physical methods that are used to transfer, manipulate, control, and propagate energy in that medium must then be considered. As an example of how a small change can produce a major effect, consider the following statement from Lancaster University in the United Kingdom on the topic of the ionosphere. Quote, although less than 1% of the upper atmosphere becomes ionized, the charged particles make the gas electrically conducting, which completely changes its characteristics. The ionosphere can carry electrical currents as well as reflect, deflect, and scatter radio waves. Unquote. What we see, therefore, is that a small change in the electrical properties of the atmosphere, be it the upper or now lower atmosphere, completely alters the way in which that shell around the Earth can be used. This concept introduces us to the topic of plasma physics, which may be more in the grasp of common understanding than might first be believed. Most of us are familiar with a neon or fluorescent light tube. This is a perfectly common example of what plasma physics is about. In that tube, there is an ionized gas, and energy can easily be sent through that tube to produce the effect of light in that case. A plasma is an electrically conductive gas. This means that there is a source of ions and electrons within that gas, and that these electrons can be used to carry current. We have seen that it takes very little change to produce a large change in the electrical properties of that gas, and the effectiveness of energy transfer and accumulation is governed primarily by the number of electrons that can be introduced into it. The term that describes this is electron density, and it becomes increasingly important in our understanding of the likely goals of the aerosol operations. Multiple measurements of atmospheric conductivity levels, extremely low frequency and very low frequency radiation, as well as magnetic variation, support the claims made that the basic electrical properties of our atmosphere have been changed. These two physical properties alone that have been mentioned, that of thermodynamic and electrodynamic change, have the prospect of changing our world so much that even the most conservative of environmentally aware individuals should be aware of the prospect for disturbance and damage. Changes in heat and energy are at the foundation of the life of this planet and all those who dwell upon it. It is a necessary, logical, and natural extension to our discussion of applications to include the almost inevitable role the military assumes within them. Indeed, the dichotomy of extreme, sustained, and continuous interest and monitoring of the aerosol research by the military and intelligence complex, juxtaposed with the public declaration by the U.S. Air Force that this entire subject is a hoax, is curious enough that many of us may wish to seek the truth of the matter. The most advanced military agencies, intelligence services, and defense contractors clearly have an interest in monitoring and controlling the level of discussion and disclosure on the aerosol issue. The tools of research and analysis must therefore be used at least in part to compensate for the lack of openness that now shrouds this democracy under the guise of national security. A glimpse into the military window has been achieved, and a central theme will eventually emerge, and that is of control. Control in the deepest and far-reaching sense that you may imagine. For when the atmosphere of the planet is controlled, life itself, in the end, is controlled. With a basic knowledge of plasma physics, that is, the physics of an energized gas or atmosphere, it is impossible to proceed further without at least a brief introduction to the HARP facility and technology. HARP, or High Active Auroral Research Program, is operated by the U.S. Air Force and is claimed to be simply a research facility. The stated purpose by the Air Force for the HARP project is that of a scientific endeavor aimed at studying the properties and behavior of the ionosphere, with particular emphasis on being able to understand and use it to enhance communications and surveillance systems for both civilian and defense purposes. It may be this, and then again, it may be more than simply a scientific endeavor. It may also be enlightening to consider United States Patent 4686605 by Bernard Eastlund in 1987 entitled, A Method and Apparatus for Altering a Region in the Earth's Atmosphere, Ionosphere, and/or Magnetosphere. There are many who have sensibly concluded that this patent essentially represents a blueprint for the HARP facility as it has been constructed. This patent makes mention of numerous objectives and methods of operation that far exceed any scientific endeavor alone, and references the work of Nikola Tesla as a source of historical contribution. The amazing inventions and achievements of Tesla with respect to energy transfer and amplification, including the use of the atmosphere as a medium for sending energy from point A to point B, are well documented. The documents of Tesla were eventually confiscated at the close of his life, especially as they related to military matters, and he is generally now accepted as an unrecognized genius. The current incarnation of ionospheric heating is able to, according to Mr. Eastland, put unprecedented amounts of power in the Earth's atmosphere at strategic locations, and to maintain that power level with the pulsing of energy. This patent also recommends the use of large clouds of barium so that ionization by sunlight will increase the electron density within the plasma environment. Testing and analysis does now positively indicate the presence of unusual levels of barium, a toxic element, within atmospheric samples. The amount of power inherent in the design of the HARP project is further indicated by Mr. Eastland stating that the present invention can be formed to simulate or perform the same functions as the detonation of a heave-type nuclear device, without actually having to detonate such a device. A heave weapon has the effect of lifting the magnetic field of the Earth itself and involves the expenditure of massive amounts of energy. The patent is further stated to have numerous military implications, including the enhancement of or interference with communication and guidance systems, including those of airplanes and missiles, radar interference, missile destruction, weather modification, material transport of micron-sized particles, and molecular change of the atmosphere are each mentioned as further applications of the patent design. The executive summary for the HARP project also specifically mentions forcing the descent of particles from the atmosphere toward the ground using ELF radiation from HARP. Clearly, environmental modifications, the electromagnetic transfer of energy, and military operations of global impact are already in sight from the existence of these aerosols within our atmosphere. In 1977, the United States Senate held hearings on the subject of biological testing by the Department of Defense on human subjects without their informed consent. In the opening statement, Senator Kennedy identifies the key issue of the hearings, the known use of Americans as unwitting human subjects for open-air germ warfare testing conducted in the public domain by officials of our own government. Furthermore, he poses the critical question: should a democratic people cede to its government the full responsibility of determining when secret tests on unwitting subjects are necessary to protect the nation's security? It appears that this key issue was never truly addressed, and that almost 30 years later, this responsibility is no longer a question that is even being posed to the public. It is a fact, however unpleasant and distressing the consideration may be, that biological components have been repeatedly identified in a series of tests of atmospheric samples over a period of several years. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has refused to identify physical material that has been demonstrated to contain biologicals of this same form. These components appear to involve the use of desiccation, freeze drying, and aerosol distribution methods, exactly the same methods itemized within the private contractor listings of the Senate hearings. Evidence further indicates that extremely advanced biotechnical methods are likely to be a part of the development and delivery process. To date, no professional or public medical professionals have attempted to duplicate the test methods and results, and the evidence continues to be provided only through independent citizen activism. Acknowledgement and response to this evidence by all public officials remains lacking. There is currently no prospect of government hearings on the aerosol issue, and the reality of the evidence continues to be denied by public officials. And lastly, although more conceptual in nature than our earlier discussion on environmental modification, electromagnetic, military, and biological aspects of the aerosol issue, it is not unreasonable to consider interactions with the Earth as a whole It is not impossible that there may be connections between the energy levels of this altered plasma of the Earth and geophysical processes, including Earth changes. There has been increased attention in recent months by prestigious scientific organizations, mainstream media, and the Defense Department itself on dramatic Earth changes that are foreseen in a not-too-distant future. These discussions center on major climatic change and geophysical field changes, such as the magnetic field. Under disclosure is the likelihood that these changes occur much more rapidly than was previously supposed. It is at least a theoretical reality that a plasma sheath around the Earth can accumulate energy. This originates from the combination of increased electron density and low-frequency energy propagation. There are many questions that can be asked as to how and if this energy can be harnessed to affect the Earth. The many abnormal Earth changes already on the record during the recent years certainly offer a motive for examining the energy transfer between the Earth and the now altered atmosphere. You have seen traces of a world still in a state of beauty, and you have seen the signs of a terrible change. It will be for you to decide if the claims of this documentary are true or not. You have seen the distinctions between what mankind has known for decades to be in harmony with our surroundings and that which is a product of our urge for technological supremacy over nature. You have seen a clear sky, this blue that was but is no more, the sky that has been taken away from us all. You have been confronted with assertions of operations on a scale never seen before in the history of mankind, and you have been shown evidence that aircraft can alter and have altered the fragile envelope for life that we call the atmosphere. You have seen science and sampling applied to the problem over and over at the grassroots level. Numerous methods have been demonstrated that show artificial and deliberate modification of the atmosphere, including its chemical, thermal, electromagnetic, and physical properties. There are detrimental effects that can be anticipated and that have been observed as a result of these changes in our air, and we must all accept the consequences of the toxic environment that has been created. The health of our home and lives have been sacrificed in the search for dominion and control. You have witnessed a high level of interest in the subject of this documentary by the military branches at the highest level, the intelligence services, the chemical industry, research organizations, defense contractors, bioengineering firms, and the pharmaceutical complex. You have heard the responses of the public, government, and even environmental organizations in response to the innumerable requests by the public for investigation. These responses repeatedly revert to describing phenomena that are normal and commonly observed, while denying and dismissing the extraordinary observations that sensible and reasonable citizens have called attention to. There has been a sustained campaign to ridicule and discredit the cumulative efforts of years of research, activism, and devotion by countless individuals acting from the motive of concern for the health of this planet and its inhabitants. A free and democratic society, if it is to continue to exist, must be able to openly discuss the benefits of technological and military supremacy against the deleterious impact upon the environment that we as global citizens must share. Divine rights of humankind must assume their rightful place amongst the individual nation's right for military security and secrecy. You have heard the responses of only a few citizens and professionals who state their sensible concerns about the impact of the aerosol operations upon our environment and our health. The lack of time prevents the presentation of the awareness that is now known to be shared by a grassroots network that conservatively must include millions of people. The extent of this awareness across national boundaries is apparent, and this network is of global proportion. The control of media information by relatively few corporate interests appears to be a significant factor in the restriction of honest and open public discourse on the aerosol issue. The attempts at ridicule of this issue by the U.S. military establishment should also be evaluated as to intent and motive. You have been provided with an analysis of the potential agendas of the aerosol operations. The conduct of environmental, military, electromagnetic, biological, and geophysical operations are each consistent with the vast body of information and evidence that has been accumulated over a period of more than 5 years. This result has been reached with the painstaking efforts of numerous citizens, researchers, and activists across the country and around the globe. Many of the operations under consideration would appear to regard the welfare of human beings, the life of this planet, and our environment as a low priority. Many people, having become convinced of the reality of these operations, will naturally ask the question, what can I do to help? It is also known from experience in history that many of these same individuals feel helpless and powerless after they confront the immensity and complexity of the operations. They also often become disillusioned after encountering the predictable and disingenuous responses of our public servants. It is also known that the traditional methods of dissent and activism are no longer working, and the political process is failing in a constitutional sense. Petitions have been signed and disregarded. Appeals for investigation are dismissed. Calls for media involvement lead to crafted articles of ridicule. Even the legitimacy of the voting process itself is in question. There is no comfortable, reassuring, and simple answer that can be given to you. This is the reality that we must face. It is expected that any success will eventually result from an enormous groundswell of grassroots activism and open public protest. At the current rate of progress, a timeline of decades can be projected before we reach the level of influence that is needed. The sober counter-reality is that the health of this planet is not likely to give us such a generous allowance of time. Our atmosphere is our lifeblood, and like the proverbial frog in the warming pot of water, we are acting obliviously to our own demise. You will have to use your talents and resources, your gift of life, to help this planet. The role of this researcher has been to give you the best information of what is believed to be the true nature of the aerosol operations. You will have to determine your role and exercise that role while you still have the opportunity to do so. If you are a professional, you must inquire into the ethics of your profession and answer the questions of public service that accompany it. If you are a citizen, you must participate. If you remain silent in the hope of preserving your freedom and security, you are almost certain to lose both. The doctor, the journalist, the scientist, the lawyer, the politician, the environmentalist, the activist, the author, the filmmaker, the fundraiser, the organizer. You must all assume your roles openly, publicly, and quickly to offer any real hope for our survival. I make this appeal to you. This documentary is a not-for-profit venture. It has been made with an appeal to you personally in mind. It may be freely copied in its entirety and distributed. No individual is permitted to distribute this documentary with a profit motive. It has been created for the benefit of the public. Please help us to restore and regain the world that you know can exist.
So, I mean, wow. Yeah. Where do you even begin? I don't think I can add anything to that guy's documentary. Quite staggering. What more do people want? Honestly, honest to God, what more would you need? If you don't know already, what more would you need? Honestly. Like I said at the very beginning, and I am still awake, Wendy, and good morning to Nell, M, and welcome. It's completely insane. Anyone who can't see it by now is clearly in denial. That's the only way I can describe it. You've got to see it now for what it is. And remember, that was made in 2005. And at the end, the guy sounded a bit like me. We need to stop it. Now, okay, I've not got the answer. I don't know how, but that's the frame of mind we need to have. We really need to, as best as we can, put a spanner in the work, right? I am still awake, believe it or not. Unbelievably, still here, still going. What time is it? Almost 2 a.m. Yeah, so probably bedtime, right? I really do appreciate everyone who stuck around. We got there in the end, did we? But at the beginning, we covered a patent in relation to weather modification. Now, the patent dates back to 1972, and through that, you can find other abandoned patents, similar technology in the way of weather manipulation modification. They go back even before the 70s, 60s, possibly into the late 50s. And it's still going on today. What the end game is, the ultimate end game, God only knows, honestly. But whatever it is, I don't think it's good. And the effects of it clearly are not good. The effects of aluminium, I mean, you could not make that up. The metal fever, I'm probably getting it wrong, but we know we know what that sounded like. I mean, yeah, all very coincidental. Even before they rolled out the pandemic, health issues were through the roof, unexplained. The cancer rate, even my own son at 3 years of age, diagnosed with cancer. Quite interesting as well when I was watching that in regards to fungus or fungal infections or diseases, maybe. I do recall thinking about the cancer, or we're in strike territory now. Kind of the way it works, the way the doctor, the surgeon described it. I remember asking him if it was a fungus, and if I remember correctly, he said no. But I'm unsure. I'm unsure. I mean, hey, I'm not a doctor, but I wouldn't rule that one out. I mean, my son's still here today, and he's fighting fit. You wouldn't know any different. He still gets obviously testing and stuff like that. That's ongoing, but yeah, he's a little devil, so he certainly keeps me on my toes. Let's put it that way. But yeah, thanks very much, Naylor. Soon, and good to see you. Hopefully, see you again soon, right? And Diane as well. Where did she go? Yeah, good to see Diane back in the hood. Great stuff. Wendy B, a pleasure to have you as well. Sue Sprain, back again. Good to see you. And yeah, possibly we do get some new people from time to time. Not very often, but I do appreciate anyone who watches or engages, right? Great stuff. Good to see Nell in the hood, and you're welcome here anytime. Share whatever you feel needs shared, and I guess kind of make yourself at home, right? I'm sure you'll be welcomed by everyone. Who else did I see? Wendy B. It's a duck as well. Yep, we're still awake. Totally awake here, right? Unfortunately, well, I guess everyone at some point in their life were fast asleep, oblivious to what's going on. And remember them days, right? When you didn't have a clue about anything. But now, yeah, a bit more switched on, a bit more savvy as to what's really going down in the world. And I mean, I could kind of basically say, right, well, weather modification case closed, right? But it's an ongoing operation. It's an ongoing project. And it will be back at Talbanocky, or That's Life, but not as we know it. You can guarantee it. The next live that I do, I'm unsure. I'm unsure as to what it's going to be about, to be honest. So, any ideas, let me know, right? Great to see Wendy, Diane. I'm sure I'll think of something, though. There's always something, right? But we might leave geoengineering for the time being. But like I said, it will be back, unfortunately. I wish I could say case closed, it's done, it's over. It's not. I mean, as much as that documentary practically goes back to 1999, it's still going on today, worse than it's probably ever been. So we need to try our best, right? And we're going to get into a few other bits in time to come. And hey, let's face it, it's all connected. It really is all connected. It's all intertwined like a big satanic spider web. That's a good way to describe the beast system. A satanic spider web. That's pretty much what it is, right? So good to see Nell. And yeah, I do enjoy the Fullerton Informer. I think Joe's great. I followed Joe for a long time now. Joe is one of the first people. Thinking back, Joe RV. Actually, RV gave me a shout out the other day, which was I was very flattered, and he recommended my channel, and yeah, thanked me and gave me a shout out, which was I never expected it. So when I heard it, I thought, wow, I got a shout out from RV, right? One of the guys that I followed way back at the very beginning. So that was great to get that, and I certainly recommend RV and the Fullerton Informer on YouTube, and where else do I watch them? Odyssey as well. So check it out if not already. Yeah, one big club, and we, of course, like we all say here, we don't want to be in it anyway. We don't want to be in it. They can ram it, right? We don't want to be in their Masonic club. So yeah, but good to see Mel. Certainly, hopefully we'll see you again, and I might see you over on Joe's channel. Great stuff. Always interesting from Joe. I like Joe when he goes on a rant. I love his rants. They're top class. He's always spot on. Gets it bang on every time. Joe. So make sure you check out the Fullerton Informer. All right, and good to see everyone in the hood. Blazing UK as well. Boxing fan. Good to see you back again. And thank you very much. Much appreciated. My son is he's my real inspiration. He's my hero. Honestly, he means everything to me, and he's still here, still fighting fit. Fought through it like it was nothing, basically. An absolute trooper. Of course, he had youth on his side, and at the time, I remember discussing it with the surgeon, and he explained how a lot of adults, when they get cancer, stage 2 cancer at the time. They kind of defeat themselves mentally before anything starts whatsoever, treatment-wise or anything like that. They've already defeated themselves, beaten themselves up mentally. Whereas a child who thinks in a completely different way, they don't quite get it. So they don't think in that way. They just get on with it, battle through it. There's probably a lesson in there somewhere, right? But yeah, thank you very much to everyone tonight. And it's been a bit of a long one, but like I said, the documentary, I felt we had to show the whole lot. I did originally plan on just showing a wee bit here and there, but I mean, I'm sure I'm sure you'll understand why the full thing had to be shown. It's a great documentary. In fact, I was going to link it in. You can find it via a search. Aerosol Crimes, right? But I will for the sake of it, and because I'm a complete professional who his laptop would never die halfway through a stream premiering a documentary. That would never happen, right? Hey, at least I never fell asleep at the wheel. I'm still going, still awake, but I'm gonna call it a night now, right? Getting a bit late. So I reckon Saturday I'm gonna be back again. Let me see if I can find a tune to see us out, and hopefully I'll catch you on probably Saturday night, I'd imagine, right? Life in the fast lane. So if you're about on Saturday night, we'll make it a date and get down to it. And until then, like I always say, never, ever, ever, ever live in fear, not for one split second. And whatever you do, wherever you are, do not comply. And that is about it. Bye-bye.
Don't nobody know my troubles but God. Don't nobody know my troubles but God. Oh Lord, they know trouble so hard. Oh Lord, they know trouble so hard. Don't nobody know my troubles but God. Don't nobody know my troubles but God. Yes, I went down the other day. My soul was happy with the shit on me. I went down the other day. My soul was happy with the shit on me. Oh Lord, they know trouble so hard. Oh Lord, they know trouble so hard. Don't nobody know my troubles but God. Don't nobody know my troubles but God. And I went up that hill again today. My soul was happy with the state of me. But I went to my room and did stay long. Looked at the bed and my brother was there. Oh Lord, they know trouble so hard. Oh Lord, they know trouble so hard. Don't nobody know my troubles but God. Don't nobody know my troubles but God.
We got to get down, Eagle. Listen, tranquility base here. The Eagle has limits. Rocket point, tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
Oh Lord, they know trouble so hard. Don't nobody know my troubles but God. Don't nobody know my troubles but God.
Wow, Neil Armstrong. Hey, wait a minute. You're supposed to be on the moon. I just saw it on TV.
Oh, there's a tape delay and with all solar winds.
That screen, it starts with an earthquake, birds and snakes in the airplane. Lenny Bruce is not afraid. Eye of a hurricane, listen to yourself churn. World civil zone east, don't disturb your own needs. Speed it up and knock, speed grunt, no strength, no ladders, touch planet with the fear of height down high. Wire in a fire represents 7 games. Government for hire in a combat site. Left the West and coming in a hurry with a fury breathing down your neck. My team reporters baffle Trump, tether drop, look at that low plane. Fine then. Overflow population, common group, but it'll do. Save yourself, serve yourself, world service zonies. Listen to your heartbeat, tell me with the rapture and the reverend in the right. You vitrionic, patriotic, slam, fight, bright light, feeling pretty psyched. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. 6 o'clock TV hour, don't get caught in foreign terror. Slash and burn, return, listen to yourself churn. Lock 'em in uniform, book burning, blood letting every motive escalate. Automatic incinerate, light a candle, light a votive. Step down, watch or you'll crush. Uh-oh, this means no fear, cavalier, renegade, steer clear. Tournament of lies. Offer me solutions and offer me alternatives, and I decline. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. I feel fine. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. The other night I dreamed of nice continental drift, divine mountains sitting in a line. Leonard Bernstein, Leonette, Brezhnev, Lenny Bruce, and Lester Banks, birthday party, cheesecake, jelly bean, boom. Symbiotic, patriotic, slam, butt neck, right? It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's